If I could have your attention, please. I'd like to welcome everyone this morning to the meeting of the Wilson County Board of Zoning Appeals for the month of April. We have a prepared agenda that's been prepared and advertised. Is there anyone in the audience today who wishes to withdraw a case or have a case deferred to another meeting in the future?
Mr. Chair, I do.
Staff have a withdrawal or a deferral?
I have two deferrals. The first one is case 4277, Jennifer Davis at 760 Flatwoods Road. That applicant has requested deferral until the May 15th, 2025 meeting. And then I have case 4278, which is also Jennifer Davis, which is 760B Flatwoods Road. She's requested deferral until the May 15th, 2025 meeting on both of those cases.
Okay. In just a moment to catch up my paperwork. In regard to case 4277 and 4278, do I hear a motion we defer these cases to our May meeting?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the deferrals, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposition, vote no. And the ayes have it. We have a court recorder here with us this morning that's taken a transcript of our proceedings. The court recorder is provided at the expense of Wilson County. If you as an individual would like a copy of a transcript of any case, we'd be glad to get that to you. That will be at your expense. And to do so, you would see the court recorder at the conclusion of our meeting today. Just a reminder to everyone, if you would please, turn off or silence your cell phones. When I call each case this morning, I'll read the case. We have staff here who has made recommendations to us that we will consider when we're deciding on the case. But after the staff has a chance to read the recommendations, we'll ask for the applicant to come forward to the podium and make any statement that they would like to make in front of the board. And then after the applicants had the opportunity, then the public hearing will continue with that particular case, and we'll let anyone who's in the audience who's in opposition or support also make any comments to the board they'd like to offer. I would like, since we have a large crowd this morning, I would like to remind everyone that if possible, we'd love for you to keep your comments to 3 to 5 minutes. Less if appropriate, longer if you really have information we need to hear. Secondly, if you would please refrain from any personal references. If you are testifying about something you've seen, that's fine. Something you know, that's fine. I will caution you against, the board really just can't consider things that may happen in the future. So if you think, well, this will decrease my property value, for example. Well, if you're a licensed appraiser, then we're allowed to consider that. But if you're not, that's just your opinion, then we can't consider it. So I just offer that as an example. Also, if someone who's testified previously to you has made the comment that you were going to make, if you can cut down your time by not making that comment again, that'd be fine, because we don't need to hear a piece of evidence but once. It's no need in everybody saying the same thing. But we do want you to feel welcome, and we do want you to feel like you can express your opinion in front of the board. So if you do plan to make a statement this morning, you'll need to be sworn in. At this time, if you would, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give before this board to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Okay. And I did mention we do have staff recommendations that we will consider. There is Wilson County TV is recording the proceedings this morning. If you'd like to watch the proceedings later on Wilson County TV on the YouTube channel, it will be available. The state requires that we have a public comment period before each public meeting. Now, with each case, there is already a public meeting or public hearing. In other words, we'll let anybody come to the podium and testify as they wish on each individual case. But the state has declared that before each public meeting, we need to have an open public comment period. So, is there anyone here that wishes to make a general comment not pertaining to any case that may be coming up today? Just a general comment. And if there are none, I'll close the general public comment period. Turning to the board, you have minutes of our April meeting that were sent to you earlier this month. Excuse me, of our March meeting that was sent to you earlier this month. Are there any corrections to the March minutes? If there are none, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from the month of March?
Move to approve.
I have a motion of Mr. Blades, seconded by Mr. Neal.
Actually, I didn't make the motion.
Well, I thought it was.
Me.
It might have been Mr. Crockett.
Yes.
Okay, motion by Crockett, second by Neal. Any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes? And if not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Any opposed, vote no, and the ayes have it. Okay, our first case is case 4254. Jamie or Alice Duncan requesting to have 2 dwellings on 1 tract of land. Tax records show that there are 2 dwellings on the property and have been since 2014. A variance is needed for the side yard setback requirement of 20 feet for both the north and south side property lines. One home appears to be right on the north property line, and the other home appears to be right on the south property line. The variance for easement width was approved by the board May the 22nd, 1998. The property is located at 5604B East Richmond Shop Road, parcel 5 on Wilson County Tax Map 135, consists of 1.56 acres, zoned A1 agricultural. And this was deferred from our February meeting.
20th meeting.
And so it's coming back on the agenda from a February deferral, and we'll get any updated staff recommendations on 4254.
All right, Mr. Chair, as you mentioned, this case was deferred from the February 20th, 2025 meeting. I'm not going to reiterate my comments from that meeting as those are already in the record. I'm going to update you. In the interim, staff has been working with the surveyor and the applicant to possibly redraw the property line so both lots will be in keeping with the regulations of the zoning ordinance regarding setbacks. And the very first page in your packet is kind of the survey. The applicant owns both lots portrayed in that survey. One of them has 2 homes on it, the other one has none. The applicant was also trying to find information that the home with the current unplaced mobile home has had a home on it prior to 2014. Redrawing these lots will not create a new lot, but it'll just move a property line specifically to remedy the need for so many variance requests on this property. Staff believes if the property line is redrawn, the side setback variances would no longer be needed. There may be some lot size variances still required depending on where the line is drawn, but in that case, the request for the setback variances and the 2 homes on 1 tract would no longer be needed.
So what is your recommendation for today? It doesn't sound like y'all are complete.
But we've not completed yet. They would probably need either a further deferral, or if the applicant is confident that this can go through with the surveyor changes, she could withdraw the case, because I think I can fix everything internally.
Who's here to represent 4254? Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Alice Duncan, 5290 Hickory Ridge Road, or it's on East Richmond Shop.
And what would you like to tell the board?
I have been working with him to show that we're trying to move that property line. We're in the middle of talking to the surveyor right now. We've been working with him. I spoke with him Tuesday. He's currently working on it, but hasn't gotten it finished before the meeting.
So do you like action on our part or deferral?
Deferral would be fine, yes.
And if we do defer, do you want it to a specific date, or do you want us to defer until you request to be back on the agenda?
Until I request to be back on the agenda, please.
Okay. Any questions from the board? And does anyone else here wish to address 4254? Yes, ma'am. Step forward, please. Name and address.
Stephanie Jordan, and it's 5604H East Richmond Shop Road. And, you know, I don't have anything against Jamie or Alice, but we gave you a petition in February from every neighbor. And, I mean, it's simply nothing here has been done right. They pulled this trailer in. It's been sitting an empty lot for as long as I can remember. There's not been a trailer there. No one has lived there in years and years and years. So when they pulled this in, they got a stop work order because there were no permits. Nothing was done properly. As far as I know, it doesn't perk. I don't think they're meeting minimum lot requirements. They have 2 homes here, and it's not, they haven't lived there in 6 years. They don't live on the property. The one trailer that has been there the whole time has been rented. And so they're just, that's what this is. Like I said, it's not a hardship, and they're just trying to rent out another trailer there. And so it's frustrating to the neighbors because we don't want that, first of all, obviously. And I built a home there. You know, my parents, as I said before, have been there like over 50 years. And I own 4 lots. And I had to move my house. We're plotting it out like 3 or 4 times because I could not be within 25 feet of lots that I own on both sides. And then I also have a statement from Tracy Ford. She is the property adjoining her, and she's completely against this. They are just trying to build their daughter a home. I mean, all of us still live here, and so obviously it's a concern to us what happens with this property. And they have 40-something acres, and they had to like spend $40,000. She's got a statement she'd like me to give to you if that's.
Or do you want to read it? Is it short?
Oh, I can. It's just, yeah.
Okay.
And she is 5750 East Richmond Shop Road, Tracy Ford. Our main objection is the fact that if it's allowed, there will be 2 buildings, trailers on the same lot. We live next door and have been unable to have 2 buildings on the same lot, a 44-acre lot. We were also forced to purchase an additional acre for 2 more feet of road frontage. Additionally, we had to pay for another survey and create an entirely new lot to be able to build a home for our daughter. If we were afforded the luxury of having 2 dwellings on 1 lot, it would have saved us $40,000, so this does not seem fair to us.
Thank you.
So,
Just let me say a couple of things, and I'm not trying to be ugly in any way. I just want to make you aware. And this may have some relevance to some of the other folks in the audience, too. Petitions of the neighbors are not something we can consider. We're not here to hold a popularity contest. That's basically what that means. So if you make a statement that of something you've seen or something that you'd like considered, that's fine. But just a petition of neighbors is just not something we can consider. It's not particular to your case. It's particular to any case we've ever heard. And secondly, I think what I'm hearing from staff is that they may have enough property, they may go through proper process that they would be legal if they had another piece of time to work on that. Now, she asked to be deferred until an indefinite date. And what I'm hearing you say makes me think that maybe that's not a great idea. Maybe we should rather give them a month or 2, and if they can, through their own efforts, become legal, then nobody has anything to say. If it's legal, it's legal. But if they can't get it done in a period of time, then other actions might have to be taken. So, that's just my thought. The other board members may think differently.
and the petition, the reason we did this is 9 o'clock on a Thursday, so a lot of the neighbors
I
can't come.
totally understand.
And that's the only reason.
And we'll get a petition every month or 2. Some of them, people have taken a lot of time
Yeah.
to put together, and I completely respect their effort. But as the law says, we're not here to count noses. That's not the law. That's some court language.
And I guess that was confusing to us too, because we were unable to modify property lines. As I said, I've got 4 lots, and I was told if I modify it, I had to go back to 1974 to be grandfathered in to be able to build on this, because every lot there is landlocked. And it's like, that's the only way we were able to build. We had to jump through hoops to do this, and we're not able to modify lines.
And we don't want to get into the particulars of what you did or what they may do and try to dissect the technicalities of a case this morning. But I think maybe a little more time would be in order, just to see if they can get correct. And if they can't get correct, then, they have an issue, and they'd have to come here, and we'd have to decide finally whether they get any variance, any leeway or not. So, but appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Case 4254, Duncan. Okay.
Yeah, she's going to speak to
And you need to speak, ma'am?
you. Yes.
Okay.
Esther Shorter, and I own the land next door,
And an address?
5604 E East Richmond Shop Road.
And what would you like to tell the board?
That I've been married and left out there like 6 years ago, and me and my husband come out there all the time, and he don't never remember a trailer being there since we've been married, except the one that's there now. So that's all I know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If no one else wishes to speak, I'll close the public hearing on 4254.
Mr. Chair, just based off of the conversations that I've had with the surveyor, I would also not recommend a deferral until the applicant requests on. I mean, I think a 2-month deferral should be more than enough to get everything worked out if the ability is to happen.
Okay. Okay. Board have any comment, discussion? And if not, I'll move that we defer case 4254 to our June meeting, and that will give them 2 months to get in compliance if they can. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second. Discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Thank you all for coming. Okay.
Are you ready for the next case?
Big pardon?
Are you ready for the next? Oh,
I am. I'm getting my homework together here. All right, our next case is case 4274, Stillwater Construction, on behalf of Bob Glenn, requesting a variance of 4 feet from the west side yard setback requirement of 15 feet. If approved, the proposed addition will be 11 feet from the west side yard property line. The property is located at 521 Lake Forest Drive, Lot 24. Lot Forest Acres is Group C, Parcel 21 on Wilson County Tax Map 29J. Consists of .81 acres and Zone R1 residential. We get staff recommendations now on 4274.
Mr. Chair, the applicant is requesting a variance of 4 feet from the west side yard setback requirement of 15 feet. This is not an older tract of record, with the lot being created in April of 1981. Given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval of this request.
Okay, who's here to represent 4274? Bob Glenn.
Mitchell with Stillwater.
Yes, sir. Address?
305 Anchor Lane, Old Hickory, Tennessee.
All right. And what would you like to tell the board, sir?
Just the client is, already has a structure there. It's like attached to the house. That is a garage shop. He's wanting to enlarge it, make that finished area, and respectfully request this variance.
So is this brown area I'm seeing right here, is that that's the existing covered area?
That's correct. Leave, I can't.
Well, y'all submitted it.
Yeah, find out.
It's right here on the end of the house.
That is the addition.
Okay. Now, is it an addition or an enclosure of something that's already there?
It is an existing pad there now because it was like a carport. Mm-hmm. And all that's there now is the pad.
Gotcha.
And the existing is within the requirements. So the additional 4 feet, of course, would be addition.
I'm looking here on the plat, and it looks like that the brown area, I guess that's where you're going to extend to, that this wall here. I'm seeing it, and I'm seeing a dimensional tag of 15 foot 2 inches, and the setback, I think, is 15 feet. So help us understand what the 15.2 and 15.3 taglines are going to.
That is the existing that was there before. He's wanting us.
The existing slab.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And so that would meet the requirements, but he's asked us to widen it 4 more feet, which would be 11 feet from the property line.
Okay, so what I'm seeing on the plat is a dimension from the property line to the existing slab, not what you're wanting to build.
That is right.
Okay, all right. I just clarifying for the board's sake. All right. Anything else? The board have other questions?
Has this been up here once? This seems familiar with the case we had a couple of months ago.
That I don't
Okay.
know about. Mr. Glenn is my client, and
Okay,
he said he had not
okay.
done it before.
I think it's probably the first time I've ever been to the site.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Crockett?
No, sir.
All right. Anyone else have questions? All right. Does anyone else here in the audience wish to address the board regarding 4274 Ben Glenn? And if not, I'll close the public hearing on 4274. Turn to the board for further discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion that we not recommend based on staff recommendation.
That's a motion to deny, right?
Deny, yeah.
Motion to deny from Mr. Blades for 4274. Does he have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion to deny. If none, all in favor of the motion vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. And the ayes have it. All right, our next case is case 4275. Kenny Buckley, on behalf of Jack Bird, requesting to use the property for a gun range, parking for Solarian vehicles, and parking vehicles and equipment for landscape business. The property is located at 4280 South Mount Juliet Road, parcel 48.02, on Wilson County Tax Map 119, consists of 8.46 acres and zoned R1 residential. We get staff recommendations now on 4275.
Mr. Chair, the applicant is requesting to use the property for a gun range, parking for Solarian vehicles, and parking vehicles and equipment for a landscape business. For the purpose of clarity, comments have been separated to address the vehicle parking and storage separately from the gun range request. Staff will note that this property is currently under violation as of 2023, and the case was filed with the court system on February 28, 2025. Vehicle parking and equipment storage are not listed uses on appeal in the Wilson County zoning ordinance for R1 zone property. This use would fit more within the C3 highway commercial or I1 light industrial districts within the county and does not fit the character and intended use of the R1 residential property in Wilson County. Given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff recommends denial of the request to park Solarian vehicles and park vehicles and equipment for landscape businesses. If the vehicle and parking and equipment storage use is granted, staff would recommend that the property be required to comply with all commercial standards, including paving, landscaping, and building materials, unless further variances are granted from this board. A formal site plan should also be submitted and approved by, for the property. Staff will note, since the zoning violation was filed with the court system and the field review conducted on April 4th, many of the Solarian vehicles have been removed from the sites. And speaking with the applicant's representative, they were in discussions with the landscaping company about relocating off-site to a different property. Gun ranges or public recreational facilities are not a listed use on appeal in the R1 zone district. Within the Wilson County zoning ordinance, a public recreational facility would be the most similar alternative to a gun range that is not operated for profit, which is a use on appeal in the A1 agricultural district or the C3 highway commercial district. The applicant also has made application to rezone the property from R1 rural residential to C3 highway commercial. The recommendation on that request will be heard at the April 25th Planning Commission meeting. If the rezoning is approved, That would help to further clear up some of the violations on the property. As it currently stands, a gun range interpreted as a not-for-profit public recreational facility is not an allowable use or use on appeal within the R1 Rural Residential District. Therefore, staff recommends denial. Staff does want to point out that a denial of this request will not prohibit a property owner from discharging firearms on their property as long as it is done as a safe manner. And also, as a point of information in your packets, staff did go to the, conducted a field review on March 14th, and there's some decibel readings to the best of our ability, and that's just as a point of information. I can get into that if you like, but we do not currently have a noise ordinance, so that is just for informational purposes.
Okay. Who's here to represent 4275 Bird? Yes, sir.
1981 Bishop Avenue, Murfreesboro. So Jack Bird's here, so there was some confusion of whether he would actually be able to make it. So do we both speak at this, or do we just select one to speak?
It's up to you.
Okay.
It's your application.
Okay, perfect. So touching on what Christopher said, yes, we have had conversations with Jack's partner about the landscaping, and we're going to push to move that off of site. They're looking for a place. So as he noted, all of the vehicles for Solarin have been removed, with the exception of what we call like medical emergency type trailer vehicles that when he gets a call for his actual business, they have to leave quickly to go to a site to help with whoever's calling in for assistance, right? So so those notes, those won't be part of this, the landscaping and the solar, and if we can do that. So I think
So you're withdrawing those requests?
yes, correct, yeah. So when we started this, there's been a lot of communication, a lot of confusion. I joined this just a few months ago. As Christopher mentioned, this has been going on for years, so I'm catching up, trying to direct him. So the initial push was to get it all in one, right, to get everything together. And I knew the only way to get that was to go commercial, if we could potentially get to that, to free up some of those. And now it just seems easier to move the landscape business and move Jack's solar and vehicles to another land that he has that's acceptable for that. So
Is it in Wilson County?
no, it's Davidson County where those went to. He has multiple in Wilson County, but these were all moved to the Davidson County one. So
Hold on just a moment. Mr. Jennings. This gentleman representing the applicant now testifies that he wants to withdraw the application for 2 of the variances.
Okay. He's got the right to do that. It will not change our lawsuit that's pending. That will go forward.
Okay. But he has the absolute right to withdraw.
He has the absolute right to withdraw.
Those 2. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
okay, so then I guess the attention goes back to the gun range. So is it called a gun range because someone shoots on it, or is it a gun range because he made it a safe place for people to shoot, or because it looks like what someone may say is a gun range? So that's where the question is for us. It is not open to public. People cannot just show up and shoot there. It is Jack's personal property that he allows people to come to shoot. So like he has employees, they can shoot wherever they want to. They can go down to the one down the road. They can come here. They can go to the gun store. They can go wherever they want to. He just allows friends, acquaintances, people to come and do their training there if they choose to. There's no charge, no nothing. They're responsible for their own stuff. He does provide the safety equipment if they forget their ear or their eye protection. So, and that's in a locked shed for there. So I think that's the question for us.
What is your question?
So the question is, what makes it a gun range when Christopher says it's not allowed? You're not allowed to have this. Well, but there are people around that shoot. We hear those. We have no problem with that. You have your Second Amendment rights to do whatever you want to. Just do it in a safe.
No one's claiming anyone's Second Amendment has.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just. No, it's a point of.
I think the difference is if an individual shoots on their property, that's one thing.
Sure.
But when you run a large enterprise, whether it's charged for or not, where you're training company employees.
He does no training.
I want to clarify that. You just said people come to shoot for training.
Their own. He says, it's his own, it'd be like.
Give me a definition of that.
So
People come
like
their
for
own
me,
training.
if you're wanting to go qualify for something, for a bat, whatever it is you're trying to qualify for, you come to me, hey, Kenny, I know you got some land out in Murfreesboro, and you shoot out there. You mind if yeah, you can come out there and shoot. That's basically the same thing that happens. They say, hey, he goes, you can go shoot there, you can shoot wherever you want to, but just so you know, I have a place if you want to, so come to my land. And just like if you came to him, he could say yes or no.
And people that shoot set up an appointment to come, or they just,
I don't think that, no, they just text Jack like a friend would, say, hey, man, you mind if I go down there? And obviously, they've been trained to safety ways. There's rules up for what they're supposed to do. You cannot do this, you have to do this. So, and I think they took pictures, examples of that stuff.
Yeah, we've got, in the packet, you've got documentation of his range rules.
So, does he live there?
No.
No, he doesn't live on the property. So it's not like he's going out in his yard and shooting or inviting friends to his home to shoot.
Sure.
It's just property.
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily there when they're shooting.
Could be, could not be, yeah. Yeah.
and he would personally know everybody that shoots. There'd never be a
100%. That is 100% correct. Nobody, it's no trespassing. You cannot just walk on there and
And
shoot.
is your testimony that there's no company folks being trained there or allowed to shoot?
Training themselves, I would say, yeah. I mean, there's no trainer there that is sitting with someone and saying, hey, this is how you do this is the proper form, this is what you're supposed to score, this and this. They know what their guidelines are, whether they go to the gun store, they go down
How do
the
you
street.
know they know? Wait a minute, this is this gentleman talking. He came up and he wants to say, so he has to answer the question.
So what's your question, Preston?
How do they know if they're qualifying correctly, if they're training correctly? There's no one there.
How do they know?
The people who use the range.
Well, because when you
Because you said
you
they
go to
know.
qualify for something, you know what the qualifying scores are that you have to qualify for. Just like me when I got my carry permit, I knew what I had to get inside what to pass it. So
How does the owner know that the rules he has posted are being complied with?
yeah, everything's recorded and the rules that are there. So
Okay, go on.
So I guess that's the end of it. So what's the decision is what makes it what someone may, no, that's a gun range just like what's down the road. Or this is someone's property that, yeah, it absolutely looks like a gun range. But multiple people and authorities have been there on 52 separate occasions where either the same person or 52 different people have called on it, and the sheriffs or their agents go out there, and it's always been safe. 52 of 52 times. So I'm not speaking out of authority, but they
been
all,
52 complaints.
apparently, yes, that has
So
been.
what is taking place out there that would generate 52 complaints?
A gun being fired and someone complains about it. I'm assuming that's.
A gun being fired.
Or a gun being fired multiple times, or two guns being fired.
How many
we
guns?
Detail that.
How many people can shoot at one time on site?
That's it. Oh.
How many people have been there to shoot?
Excuse me. Let's all settle down just a little bit. I need to hear. And Mr. Neal, one question at a time, please. Let him
How
answer.
many people can shoot on site at one time?
I don't have the answer to that question.
There's no limit, or you?
5, 10, 20, 50, 100?
It's not 50, it's not 100, 10, 14 lanes, there you go.
And there's a gun range and a rifle range, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So both of those combined, 14 people can shoot at one time.
No.
Excuse me?
Oh,
Well, I mean, I thought the answer was 14.
Well, you're not going to be, the gun range, the pistol range goes, you cannot shoot on the rifle range. That's not allowed. So then if people come to do that, then
So when the rifle range is in operation, the pistol range is closed.
that would be accurate, yes, correct.
switch gears just a little bit.
Thank you.
There's, and this is not part of your request, I don't think, but there are multiple pieces of construction out there that haven't been permitted.
Correct.
Do you wish to speak to that?
That was started before I became a part of this, but I would speak and say, Jack understands there's a process for that now. And that's why, because I'm a fully licensed general contractor, so, and I tell him, okay, there was a process you had to follow. When the first one came from Karen's team, someone should immediately went down there, and we'll just, that's just the ignorance on a homeowner's part. And now he knows, and we're going through the process to get that.
2 years ago, when he got this first note, he didn't know he needed to get some kind of approval for something
I
that,
wasn't there 2 years ago, sir, I can't.
I've got, one question here. When I look at these pictures, and I don't know exactly how old they are, some of them could be older than others, but what's this zone for? What's the zoning on this?
R1.
Okay. To be honest with you, and I'm not saying it has to be a 30,000 square foot house on here, but when I look at these pictures, I don't see anything that remotely looks like residential. And do you have to have a permit to do what's being done here on this property? And how many?
You would have to have a land, for everything that's been on there, I mean, there is one Connex structure container, we would require a permit for that. And then as far as like the berm creation and the land disturbance, that requires a stormwater land disturbance permit if it's over an acre, which I believe this site has. Stormwater has been out there. I don't think they've done a follow-up. The last requirement they had for him was stabilization of the berm walls, and I don't know if that's been done since March 14th or not.
but if all this, let's just say all this was allowed, there would still have to be a site plan.
There would have to be a land disturbance. I mean, I'm not going to require a site plan for.
For building, there's buildings in this.
Well, yes. If it's going to meet commercial standards, yes. But if it's like if it's still operating as a residential and he pulled a permit for an accessory garage, there would be a plot plan that's submitted to the building permit
If
office.
it were all correct in the way it was supposed to be, in your opinion,
Yep.
you would still you would still require a site plan.
Yes, sir.
Goes to Mr. Crockett's question of, what they're doing there.
Yes, like if it were done in like the C3 district that would allow all the uses that were before you today, there would have been a required site plan
Let
for
me ask
everything.
another question. I noticed this thing is terribly close, if not underneath the TVA towers.
I believe the pistol range is under the TVA easement, and I'm going to go off, I believe, speaking with the applicant, they had permission to build that berm underneath the TVA lines.
Okay, but the structure is not,
The structure is not under the TVA,
not on the right-of-way.
not to my knowledge. No, I don't believe so. I mean, I think that's a 250-foot easement through there, and I think that structure's far enough off that based off my field review.
Did you see the permit from the TVA?
No, sir.
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask the question.
Sure, go ahead.
I have read most all of it, and a little concerns me a little bit because there were no work orders done. There was also a stop work order put out there without any permits, and you have continued to build out there. So
There's been grading done. Yeah, no building has gone.
there's buildings up out there.
There is. That is the Connex units, and that's where they didn't know that they needed to get a
I thought
permit.
I saw wood above the Connex thing.
Well, it's there's, the Connex sits here, 15 feet, another one, 15 feet, another one. And then some of the equipment, ladders and stuff was getting rained on, so they just put a cover over the top of it. That's all they did, so.
So just putting a cover over it, doesn't that constitute building?
Well, talking to me now, yes, sir. But
Okay.
again, I was not there I wasn't involved when that happened. I've told them now, we got to get a permit. So that's kind of what started this. I go to Karen and say, hey, what's going on here? Fill me in. She catches me up on the history. I said, okay. So I can't even pull this permit to even put these connexes on there until all of this is cleared up. So then now that's where we are now. So I'm trying to get it to, okay, let's get to the point to pull the permit. So for me, get everything off the site, 100% gone off the site. Now it's R1. Now I can go and I can pull the permit. Well, then, what do we have to do to get there? So that's where we are now. I said, you have to go C3, incredibly more expensive to build, pull permits, et cetera. So we're looking for, and we always have been looking for recommendations for the teams here. And this is where we are. So we
But I have a problem with it being an oversight since '23.
understood.
That nobody came up here, and you were cited numerous times, and no one's got a permit, and overlooked that you had a stop work order out there, and you continue to build,
You're not continuing.
and you were told.
That's incorrect. I understand your point. That's incorrect. We not continue to build. No, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to finish up on my point. I just don't, in all this, I don't see anything conducive to an R1. And then if, I don't have a gun, but if I wanted to start shooting, I could just drive up down there and start shooting. How do you control who goes in and out?
That's right. If we could, let's ask this gentleman. Let's let him answer the question he was just answered.
One, it
asked.
says no trespassing. When you first come off the street, it says no trespassing. And then when you walk back there, that area is gated off back there. You have to go, and when you come, you're going to see you can't even get into that facility. You would have to climb something to get into it, which you would.
I understand about no trespass, but so far, there's not been any rules followed on anything down there on this property. So I don't see why automatically people are going to start following rules.
Well, I think you're comparing apples to apples. You're saying that a team here hasn't followed and complied for ignorance, and now they understand. They say, we get it. He comes with hat in hand to these people. Look, we did this. We're ready to do it right now. We weren't trying to skirt anything. Didn't know we needed something for the Connex. And that's a pretty recent change as far as protecting specifically those containers in Wilson County. So
Is not.
As far as an
Anything
ADU,
that covered the ground in Wilson County needs a permit, and that goes back to the days the ordinance was written, in the 70s, as I recall. If it covers the ground, a slab, a swimming pool, above-ground swimming pool, anything needs a permit, correct? Go ahead, Howard.
I got a few questions. We have a lot of information here that was given to us. It seems like this has been going on since February of '23, over 2 years of citation after citation after citation, stop work order, as Sonia said. So you're testifying that there is no business run out of this property?
that's correct.
Okay. It's only,
For businesses, really.
it's only,
There's storage for business.
Yeah, they store their, like, the landscaping, they go mow, they do all their stuff, and they come back, park their
Well,
trucks.
that's, in my mind, that's operating a business.
all right. And you're also saying this is only being used for personal training. Is this what you said?
I've said that for the gun.
The gun range, okay. Now, we've got pictures here of people walking around. They're at the gun range, and it says police on their backside, below their shoulders. So you're saying that they are there for personal training,
I can't speak to that. I've not.
police officers?
I've not seen anybody, but I do know the sheriff does come down, his deputies have come down and shot there, actual law enforcement, not just any of Jack's friends.
All right, and the other question I have is there a couple of trailers on that property for living purposes?
There's a couple of them.
Are there people living there?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's in town, I think that one of them, no, it's disconnected and sits there. There is one that is livable in it, but as far as someone staying there, I can't.
When you say livable, where's the septic?
Both of them are livable.
What's the septic situation?
That's my next question.
I can't answer.
You have, my question would be, if they're available for somebody to live in, which is against the ordinances for Wilson County, is there electric to the trailers? Is there electricity?
There's not electric ran on the property as of yet. That's something we're working on. Yeah, there is no.
So right now, there's no electricity on the property?
There's no electricity on. There's generator to run the gas unit or to run the diesel unit or.
What about sewer?
I don't think.
We got a couple of trailers there that people stay there. What are you doing with the sewage?
I'm assuming he either does, I can't speak to what.
Okay, that's okay if you can't speak to it.
But I would assume he either removes it and takes it and disposes of it or doesn't. So it's not like someone's living there that I have seen. I can only say when I'm there, do not see someone there 7 days a week. It'll be a day here, a couple days there, something like that. So that's all I can speak to.
I've got maybe a quick
Wait a
question.
minute, let me finish.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. You may interrupt.
And I know you testified that there's some equipment being moved, but the pictures we have here, what it looks like is a junkyard. You've got fuel tanks there that hold fuel or oil or something. You've got a lot of equipment. I think there was a picture of an army tank, on the property. You got all kinds of equipment on the property. Again, it looks like a junkyard, and that's what it is. It's a junkyard.
It did.
And as far as the range goes, you're saying that your opinion is you're going to go and you're going to clear all the property off completely and start from day one. Is this what you said earlier?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Are you going to take the gun range down?
But no.
Then you're not clearing the property? Yes, no?
If that's your,
No, it's not. I'm just asking you the
I think the
question.
question was, are you going to clear all the property? And I heard you say,
landscaping and,
but not the gun range.
correct,
Would that be correct?
correct.
Okay. Go
Or
ahead.
the shed, or barn, or whatever you call it that's up, the structure.
I mean, that can go too. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're willing to do whatever needs to be done. If that needs to go away, it goes away. I think I said that at the beginning.
Have you ever looked in to see if the land perks?
I have not, no. Hasn't been asked of me to do that, so.
So you're talking about
I've had topography done on it, and that's the only thing that I've done as far as any land site development.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Mr. Neal?
Yes, just one, you had mentioned, Mr. Blades had talked about access to the gun range, and you said it was, I think, a gate up. So when somebody shoots, does the owner or somebody unlock the gate and let them in? How's that worked out? Because you said that like just a random person can't just walk up and start shooting because there's a gate. So how does that work? Explain that for me.
I don't know. I've not been there. I've been there when it's been locked and shut, and then I've been there when people are there. And
But I didn't know if there was an owner or somebody that oversaw the property that met people there and let them in and out. That was.
I'll let Jack can,
Okay.
get ready for.
Anything else you'd like to tell the board? Nope. All right,
That's it.
thank you. All right, do y'all have someone else from the owner side that wishes to testify? Come on up, sir.
Jack Bird, 2026 South Mount Juliet Road. I am the property owner, so I'll address that first. There's a gate at the very entrance coming off the road, and then there's a secondary gate. Either they have a key to it because I've given them a key, or they have a code that gets into a lockbox that gives them access. There's also 14 cameras on the property that are 24-hour-a-day recording, audio and video.
Okay.
Out of the last 2 years, 52 calls have been made to the Wilson County Sheriff's Office. Out of those 52 times, it's been found to be safe in operation. 38 of those calls were by the same people. We have met and exceeded all local, state, and federal standards required to operate a gun range if we wanted to operate a for-profit commercial range. There is no standards for residential use. I'll take any questions I can.
Do you ever shoot at night?
I have.
Doesn't state law require you to stop?
It does
30 minutes
not.
After sundown?
It does not.
And not start again until 30 minutes before sunup?
It does not.
Okay. So you can shoot any time of the day or night you
We don't, but we have shot at night. We do low-light training. What people wear when they go out and they shoot is what they generally would wear at work if they were in their normal job. People wear holsters that they're familiar with, that they're going to carry every day. What they choose to wear is what they choose to wear. I'm not going to mandate that. I'm not going to tell people who are my friends who are coming over on their own time what they can and can't wear. If you're comfortable because you wear body armor and that's what you want to wear it. If you wear this type of holster, you want to wear your duty belt, wear it. Off-duty law enforcement typically train what they work in.
I've got a quick question for staff, maybe. The stop work order that was issued, would have it applied to the gun range shooting in any way at all, or would that have been totally separate?
It's going to depend on how it's interpreted, but the stop work order that was issued was for land disturbance and the construction without a permit. It's typically site-wide, so if he's moving dirt for the berms of the gun range, that typically would have applied to that at that time, yes, sir.
Okay.
And they've cleared it.
And you say, or someone said that you had been in contact with the TVA about disturbance in the right-of-way?
That's correct. TVA has mentioned that on the pistol range, we have another 14 feet of clearance that we could build up on the berm, and on the rifle range, we have about 10.
And is a permit required from TVA?
There is not a permit required for TVA, although it must meet and exceed the urban or the forestry standards for that. And there's a 75-foot right-of-way coming off of each side of that line. The connexes are not within that right-of-way. What it has to maintain is a level of clearance to meet the drag of the line. So when the load goes up or the heat goes up, the line goes down. It has to stay 12 feet away from the line at all times.
and this nighttime shooting, how do you feel about the public nuisance issue of that?
We don't operate nighttime shooting except once or twice a year when we have to do low-light training. People are required to do it on their own. So I operate
We are doing low-light training. Who's doing this?
security. We are required to do at least one of those a year where we do a low-light training.
So your company?
No, as individuals.
We, what
As in an industry.
for?
As in an industry. Law enforcement does it, security does it, where in their quarterly qualifying, one of them has to be done in a low-light condition. That's just a national standard.
So these people are qualifying to a standard in a low-light condition, and they do it at night or whenever else they come to your gun range.
They can do it wherever they want to do it,
But
but I have a place to do it, and they're my friends, so I let them come and shoot.
But they're doing it to meet a standard,
Their own standard, the standard that they have to meet for their profession.
not their standard, but a professional standard.
It is not this is not a business, but there's a standard that
Are
says that
they
it has to
meeting
be.
a standard?
It's a standard that is established, yes, but it's not, they don't have to do it there. They can do it wherever. I just have a
Good,
place that they could do it.
But they are doing it there.
That's correct, but you could have your friends over and shoot on your property. I live a mile down the road.
I could, but my friends aren't meeting a standard. And you've testified multiple times in the last 10 minutes that they were meeting a standard. I want to know what that standard they had to meet. By who?
I competition shoot. I have standards that I aim for too when I go out there and train.
That wasn't the question. The question
What's the
was
same standard?
low light qualifying. Whose standard?
It's a post standard, it's a security standard, it's an industry standard. It's recognized by the NRA, it's recognized by a lot of training organizations that one of those should be conducted in a low light condition.
This sounds very much commercial.
It's not.
It's not. Even meeting a standard that you're saying is required by multiple recognized authorities.
Correct.
And that's not,
Well, no, we're not taking anything in exchange for it. You're choosing to come out on my property because I'm going to do mine.
well, if you choose to be a philanthropist, that's up to you.
Thank you.
But there is a commercial aspect to allowing people to come out and meet a standard.
I would like to highlight, though, when you talk about the noise piece, and I
didn't
think...
talk about the noise.
Well, you talked about it being a nuisance, and the only thing that'd be a
I
nuisance would
just
be the
asked you how you
noise.
felt about a public nuisance at night after dusk.
I don't think it's a nuisance, and I'll tell you why.
Order, please.
I'll tell you why, and I think, not my opinion, but I think the records that the county produced when they came out and did their own testing would also conclude that it's not a nuisance, because it's no different than the sound of the traffic that's passing along the roadway in its own decibels. They took the readings, not me. They're the ones that can testify to it. The neighbor who is the closest to the property, who is the closest to both ranges, is sitting right beside me. He can't hear it inside of his home.
Order, please. Go ahead.
I would just say that our goal is compliance. I want this to be something that meets and exceeds whatever this board or any other board that we have and makes the neighbors happy. But I will say, for the ones that are sitting in the room that also shoot on their own property, including the 38 calls that were the majority of those law enforcement complaints, it's kind of ironic. You know, we have done this in a way that is safe. We've made mitigation factors to dampen that noise. Our berms are 4 times as thick as they have to be and twice as tall. I've done everything I can do to make this amenable to them at our own expense.
But why on R1 property?
That's what it was zoned. I didn't know part of this, and I had no idea that there was an issue because it went to someone else as far as the citation that took us to court. I had no idea that there was a work stop order. I wish I would have known, because as soon as I got it.
You didn't see that big red sticker thing?
No, I didn't see it until I called Karen immediately when I got it. I had no idea.
You know it was zoned R1 when you purchased it?
That's correct.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to hold. Go ahead, sir.
I got a question. If I wanted to shoot at that range, all I have to do is contact you?
Yes.
Say, like, I'd like to come out and shoot at any given time, and it's available for me to come out and shoot?
I would make the arrangements. I'd probably go down there with you if I didn't know you. I wouldn't want you out there shooting if I wasn't there, if I didn't know who you were.
No kind of requirements from the person?
Eye and
They
ear.
have a gun permit or anything?
No. I'm all about people learning how to shoot that haven't shot. I've got friends, family members that have never shot that I take out there, and I want them to shoot.
But rather than going through the same questions I asked the person that already testified, what's your intentions for the future for this property, other than the gun range?
I would love to put a barn on it. And the structures that are there, we had no idea. They're Connex storage trailers. They're no different than anyone's shed on their own property. How many of the properties in this county have sheds that don't have permits? We had no idea. We're happy to comply with it. We were unaware of it. It's a storage trailer. If the vehicles were an issue, we've moved them to other land. Our goal is compliance, to answer your question. I would love to put a barn on it. I would love to put something where I could park equipment inside where it wasn't publicly available for view.
Well, I got just one question. You keep saying compliance. You've had 2 years and 2 months to comply, and you haven't.
We were unaware.
You weren't aware since February of '23.
We were unaware that there was a work stop order.
It's posted on your property. We got pictures of it.
I think the stop work order, if I could interject, had to do with some construction work. The notice of violation about commercial vehicles and other issues were sent there, 2 years ago. So the question Mr. Blades has asked, I think, is relevant, is why did you continue?
By leaving a shed on the property or a vehicle on the property?
Whatever that first violation was, first notice.
I believe that was it.
It was in '23.
I believe it was having a vehicle on the property.
I don't recall what the violation was, but I remember seeing it was in 2023. So the question is, why did you not, if you're genuine of compliance, why did you not, come forward at that point?
Why did we not remove the vehicles that were on the property?
Whatever the issue was.
I didn't. First of all, I don't know that we agree with that. I don't know that I would agree that we can't park our vehicles there. I'm happy to put a residence on it. I'm happy to build a barn. I'm happy to meet whatever standard there is. But if failing to do this is because we have a storage shed like every adjacent property owner who also has no permits that border the property, we're happy to be in compliance. We were unaware of that.
But you had the violation.
No, we had their accusations from one of the neighbors, and the county was citing it. They had never been on the property. Since then, they've now been allowed to come on the property and look at it. And as soon as we were aware,
Were they not allowed on the property?
we removed they said they don't go on people's property because there was no trespassing posted.
Well, I have to think that if they issued the violation, if they sent you a letter and said you're in violation, first notice is what it normally says, that they had grounds to believe you're in violation.
I don't think they had seen the entire property, and I think that changed a lot of what they thought. And as soon as they said, hey, remove the vehicles, we moved the vehicles. If it's removing a Connex or obtaining a permit for a Connex, we'll be glad to obtain one.
Okay. Any other questions for this gentleman?
Yeah, very briefly. And of course, I keep going back to the shooting range, and first gentleman said, it's not a public shooting range. It's just like anybody could have one in their own backyard. And, I'm trying to wrap my head around all that. You say it's locked, you give a key or a combination to a lockbox that's got a key to your friends and who are coming to shoot. Do those people that have access to the property, are they allowed to bring somebody with them when they come shoot?
If we approved it, yes.
And do they give you a written approval, or they just call and say, hey, I've got, my neighbor wants to come out, my buddies want to come out with me?
Generally, I'd get a text message or I'd get a phone call, and if it was someone that I knew, I would approve it or deny it.
Right, okay.
I got one more question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Blades.
I've got Rusty spoke on, I've got the first violation notice letter that was given to you, or sent to you at 1,000 Pleasant Grove Place, Suite 300. Is that a business? That's a business address?
Correct.
All right. And this is dated February 23rd of '23, and it speaks about the building permit. Now, when you got this letter, what did you do about it?
I think we reached out, if that's not mistaken, and I think that there was some understanding that we didn't understand that you had to have it for a storage, a shed.
But this letter says you do.
It said you had to have it for building, so I think there was the misunderstanding that we were building a structure on the property. That structure that is there that you see with the roof that was referenced earlier wasn't on that property until late '24, mid '24. So it was literally a Connex unit. It was a box, a shed.
Okay? And a building permit is required.
Apparently.
Okay. Now, my question is, when you got the letter, what did you do about it? Because you could have appealed the letter.
We reached
You
out.
could have come here in March of '23 and said, look, and put an appeal in.
We reached out. We reached out to Karen. We didn't know what it was that was the violation. They hadn't been on the property
Once you
either.
found out what it was by talking to Karen, what did you do about it?
We removed them to ask for a permit.
And then what was the second notice of violation? Because you have,
I think it's the vehicles.
I think you have 3 or 4 in the file.
I think it's the vehicles being
There's a
parked.
bunch of them in here.
The first notice is for the building permit, and then there's a second set of violation, which that's the tactical training business is what it was cited as.
Okay.
It was interpreted as a tactical training business at the time. Now, granted, I wasn't over enforcement at that time, so I can't speak to the letter, but it was March 24th, and then the second violation was sent in April of 23, March of 23.
That you're not conducting tactical training.
That's correct.
And these people that are out there shooting are not doing so in order to meet any published standard.
It is my testimony that we are not exchanging anything for training services on the property. This is a not-for-profit range. If you count training as me, if you're my friend and I invite you out and I teach you how to shoot, I don't want to say that we're not doing training in that regard where I can show you how to shoot, but we're not exchanging money.
Standard.
Well, there could be a standard to it.
Well, you may have a personal standard, but that's not a recognized standard. All right, any other questions for this gentleman?
Yes, sir. On these notices that you've been getting, Mr. Byrd, the second one was a notice of violation regarding tactical training and storage container. And you said that you have come up here, you recognize that from the letter that Mr. Byrd showed you, Mr. Blades showed you, and you said you got a permit. There's not been a permit.
No, we're seeking a permit for the building. There is no permit for the training because there is no training.
But you've already got a building out there.
Correct. We didn't know that a shed required a building permit.
Anything built and it requires a permit.
Well, I checked them, and I looked around. All adjacent property owners have sheds, and none have had existing permits. I didn't know.
Well,
Everyone that borders us doesn't have one for their buildings.
Anything that you do in this county requires a permit,
I'm aware of that now.
especially since 2023.
I'm aware of that now, and we will comply. We hope all the neighbors comply as well.
Okay, any other questions for this gentleman? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do you have anyone else from the owner's perspective that wants to testify? Okay. Now, so the owner's going to sit down for a moment, or the applicant, I should say, and we're going to hear from the public. And if you would please, again, limit your comments as much as you can to, whatever time you absolutely have to have. And if you would please line up behind the podium, and we'll take you one at a time. Anyone who'd like to testify? And we'll need your name and address when you step to the mic, please.
I'm Jeremy Hobbs. I'm District 13 County Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
I represent the District 13th area. The people behind me are usually quiet. You don't hear much from them. They're good people. I'm going to keep mine short and sweet. Pretty much land use. This property is totally against our land use and quality of life. And I'm just going to leave it at that. The people behind me will fill in the rest. And thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Lester Bentley. I live at 3526 Hobson Pike. If you pass that property and go on up there a pretty good little ways, I've got 5 acres, and I'm about 750 feet off of the road. But now you've heard this, let's hear the truth. Truth always stands. There's cars, trucks there all the time. Not running a business. I ran a business for 30
Sir, if you would address the board, you're not speaking to them.
I ran a business for 30 years, okay? And I'll tell you something else. The road stays muddy. It's been muddy for 2 years. I've called about it. Don't seem to be anything, can get anything done. I live 750 feet off the road. We can hear it really well, okay? So I feel sorry for the people that live down there right at it. because they're going through misery. And it scares my wife. Her daughter came up there one day and she ran in the house. She thought somebody shooting at her. So let's get real with each other, people. It's a mess. It's a mess there. You've created a mess, they have. It looks like a junk lot. And I wish somebody'd do something about the mud. But they don't seem to care. I ran a construction company. I had a backhoe. I kept them clean. When we got in the mud, we cleaned the tires off before we even loaded it. We need to think of other people because it's ridiculous.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Popst. I live at 6000 Matthew Drive, just down the road. You'll hear plenty of other people say probably what I'm about to say. The current activity here has already been very disruptive. There is a huge difference between my rural neighbors shooting their guns on their property and the constant barrage from all day paid for private training. I've called Solaren in the past to complain, and they've told me though people have paid to be there and they're not going to stop for the day. So, again, called Solaren to ask, and that is what they told me. There was also a day, I work from home sometimes, so I hear this quite often, but one particular day, on a very important work call with my boss, with clients, and all of a sudden there was a huge blast. My whole house shaking. I had to interrupt my call. I was panicked. I called the police thinking there was something horrible that had happened, and they told me not to worry about it. There was just the neighbor down the street having fun on their property. Sounded like they had been using some explosive targets. There was a Facebook post admitting to as much from the property owner. All of that aside, just commercial use in this area is just so inappropriate. We have a very quiet rural neighborhood. Looking at all the future use maps that you guys have provided, it's supposed to stay rural, not just on the Wilson County side, but on the Davidson County side. I've been researching that as well because I work in Davidson County. I've also been to the community workshops about the future use land maps that you all are updating. Very loud sentiment there, if you participated, about keeping the rural neighborhood feel where I am at. Other than that, I just think, if you really want to run a commercial business, find a property that's zoned appropriately. There are plenty. On my drive here alone, I passed 5 other properties, all with the tagline that they could be potential commercial developments. It does not need to be this one. It absolutely does not need to be this one. I'm just asking that you please say no to this rezoning request, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification, this is not a rezoning request. They have applied for rezoning. That will be heard by the Planning Commission tomorrow?
April 25th.
25th. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is Gerald L. Soul Jr. I also go by the nickname of Gary. My concerns are safety. South of that property is housing, 2 private roads, and also 3 churches that are within the range of that piece of property. To the north is residential property, 2 private driveways. To the west, to the east, there are houses that are within 100 to 150 yards of this piece of property. To the east, to the west, there are also residential areas. So I am concerned that an accident could happen and a child riding a bike down some of them private roads could accidentally be shot, hurt, or even killed. The next thing is house values. I've taken residential courses in appraisal, and my estimation is those properties that are across the road would probably reduce the value of 40 to 60%. Would you want a gun range beside your house? The next is noise. I live on Clark Drive, and I can hear noise from that gun range on Clark Drive. Going on all the time.
How far away would you say your home is from the range?
Probably 2 to 3/10 of a mile.
Okay.
Next thing I have is human waste. People got to go to the bathroom. where are they going to go to the bathroom at? It's very observed from the public road that's there. So what are they going to do with human waste? Porta potties? Going to try to get the permit to put in a two-stage system? And I would assume, based on Wilson County, with the rock that underlies this property, it would probably not perk, my opinion. Environmental, concerned with the lead that might be absorbed in the soil, and also the noise limit. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to express my thoughts.
Sherry Morrison, 3028 Dale Drive. I'd like to start off, I work from home, and I have a professional career, and I cannot be on calls with my clients without them asking me if I am in a firing range or if I'm in the middle of a gunfight, which is unfair to me. I can't open my windows. My house shakes constantly to the explosions. I've called in because of the, tannerite being exploded on the property. What are the laws around that? Not just guns, but the actual explosions that are going on this property. That is affecting us. I cannot let my dog, I'm shaking right now because I cannot let my dog outside without her shaking and wanting to cower back inside because of the noise and issues that are going on. As far as if there's a stop work order, I've got a picture from this morning leaving out that there's people working on the property. Why is that going on? There's trailers with gates. He testified earlier that there was a gate at the front of the property. I can pull right onto the property. Where's that gate? He said there's 2 gates you have to go through, so it's not at the front of the property, so anybody can walk onto that land. Yes, there may be no trespassing signs, but this is a nuisance to all of us. Everybody around me works from home, and I know if it's bothering me, it's bothering all of them. So I would ask, please stop this.
Thank you.
My name is Gilbert Kuntz Jr. I have both pieces of property at the corner of Dale Drive and South Mount Juliet Road. One has my residence, one has a garage that had permitting before I built it, by the way. Saturday morning, it's one person shooting. I can tell the difference in gun shooting. This was one. I'll just stop that right there. There's more. That started around 11 or so. We were still shooting at 7 p.m. Not only pistols, but automatic weapons, full automatic, just ripping away. Now, when I got here this morning, I'd met Mr. Bird once before, went over there and met him. I didn't know who the owner was. I drove over there. They were doing some tactical training that day because they were running drills and shooting and running and shooting. They were in full uniform, all Solarian employees, I believe. So I met him once before, explained to him that the residents didn't like this. You know, we've been here for a while, we're settled, you're coming in here disrupting our neighborhood. We don't like it. I did mention there was a petition, found out today petitions don't mean that much, but it means something to us, right? So during that conversation, I also told him, I said, I'm your neighbor. I live right there. I live directly across the street. It's on that picture up there. It's probably on your pictures. I said, my ailing mother-in-law is dying of cancer. Her bedroom's on the front of that house. She's scared to death. We have to move her out of the room when you're shooting because she's scared. His reply to me was, well, there's all kind of noises up and down Mount Juliet Road. Why would this scare me any more than any other noise? Okay? Well, why would it? I don't think a truck's going to come through my front wall of my house. A bullet could. You mentioned property values. We may not be able to speak to that, but I can tell you, had I pulled up to my house that I bought there in 2015 and that was going on, I'd turn around and left. I don't want any part of that. Okay? I just don't. Not where I live. Now, I shoot. I've had property that I shot on that I own in Selmer, Tennessee, in the middle of nowhere, right? But not across the street from my house. I hear that every day that they're shooting, every night that they're shooting. what went off, it wasn't just a little tannerite, it was about 4 pounds of tannerite. I was standing there the day it went, shook my whole house, scared me to death, okay? I know it for a fact, I called everybody I could call. I said, something bad's happened out here. You know, I wanted the attention to it, and everybody else did too. Okay, so that went down. Yeah, nothing happened. A lot of people showed up that night. TVA was there, ATF was there for about 4 hours out. Well, while all this happened, a big rainstorm came right after. Mr. Bird peeled out of there. Everybody was peeling out of there. It was over there, but a couple people. Some guy comes up through there with a bobcat, scooped up a bunch of debris in this bobcat and dumps it out over in the woods and goes back. Pouring down rain. Wondering what he dumped. Think that was evidence of something? I got it on video in case you might see it. It's also being given to a detective here in Wilson County. So, what am I forgetting here? I don't think I'm at 5 minutes yet. This guy gets approved for this. Anybody that's got an acre, can we do it? I got 2 acres. Can I put a 14-lane gun range and just start shooting away? That sound was 1 shot, 1 gun. Multiply that by 14.
I need to say something here that's
Yes,
not
sir.
going to be popular.
Okay.
We have a zoning ordinance, and I know there's several copies of it around here, but it's about that thick. There's not a noise ordinance in it.
Understood. I understand that.
Just be aware, there are other issues here, but the noise is not on the table.
Okay.
Because we don't have an ordinance.
I understand, but we're here to state what matters to us, right? So that matters to me.
I understand.
There you go, noise. With that noise comes a certain amount of danger, in my opinion, okay? The noise is part of it.
We understand clearly that it's a nuisance.
Okay.
But, yeah, just so everybody's aware, the noise is not on the table because it's never been put in the ordinance.
Okay, well, understood. It's still a problem. Whether it's there or not.
I will
it's
not
still a
argue
problem.
that with you.
Awesome, awesome. So, anyway, anybody got any questions for me?
No, sir, and thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kathy Hall, and my property is adjacent to this property. We've lived there 49 years in July. My main concern is safety, the safety of our residential homes in the area. Since noise is not something I can deal with, I'm just going to say it's all about safety. People have children in those neighborhoods. Ours are grown and gone. If they weren't, I'd be very concerned for my own. And I'm concerned now for the fact that my husband and I still live there and would love to continue living there. But it's enough to make you not want to be in that rural area anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Lester Hall. I live at 4050 South Mount Juliet Road. I've been there 49 years. The first thing I want to say is that picture is not correct. It was taken some time back. There is junk everywhere on that. Trailers, piles of junk, wrecked cars. It's a mess. My driveway, you can see in that top right-hand corner, that picture does not represent the mess that we have to look at. That's number one. Number two, I think it's terribly convenient for them that everybody, that the man that's supposed to answer the questions can say, well, I don't know, I wasn't involved back then. Well, we've been involved in it since day one. I never called the police because I knew enough of my neighbors were doing it. I could have made that 150 calls if I'd have wanted to. Make no mistake about it, that range is alive and active. And it's not a couple of friends coming to shoot. This is a guy that lives in 2026 South Mount Juliet Road, where he lives. He doesn't invite people to his house to come and shoot. He invites them to our house to come and shoot, where we have to listen to it and deal with it.
Folks, if we could, let's hold the applause.
So anyway, and all this, the thing that bothers me the most, even from the beginning until now, and almost some of what's been done today, it's all done with no regard and no respect to the people, those of us that live out there, and hope to live there. I've been there 49 years. And I just think it's terribly disrespectful at any level for this to happen, and we have to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Excuse my voice. Gerald Krantz, 321 South Winds Drive. It's a shame it has come to this, that a gun range has brought this to everybody's attention. One of the members on the board here said, this does not look like residential property. And I think many of, I'll speak for myself, saw this 2 years ago. No, I haven't spoken up. But it's zoned R1. Unless I'm wrong, it's zoned R1. It seems to be a case of beg for forgiveness rather than ask for approval, because they want to jump to R2. Let's just keep it R1. That would solve a lot of problems. You'd have to get them off, but if it stays R1, it seems to be in my book they're gone, unless they turn it into residential, according to zone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Dan Petty. I'm at 3005 Dell Drive. You can actually see my house in the picture in the very bottom right corner. So I have a clear view at this gun range and property, whatever you want to call it. They actually have, I mean, it seems like forever now, even these bright lights that shine directly into our window and our bedroom, they do shoot at night almost every night. I won't say it is every night, but it is almost every night. Late into the night, I mean, it'll be midnight, and they're still shooting sometimes. Loud explosions constantly that, I mean, it feels like this destroys our house. Everything falls down. They do shoot early in the morning, too. I'm up by 7 o'clock almost every day, and I can already start hearing gunshots at times. I have 4 little kids, 11, 9, 7, and 5, and we homeschool. And I also work from home, and it's so sad how scared they are to go outside. Because these people aren't just shooting pistols. I mean, it is assault rifles, it sounds like, just every gun you could possibly think of. I mean, some days it feels like there's grenades going off. It literally feels like a war zone. And my kids are literally terrified to go outside. And as a parent, that is hard, especially in today's world where everyone wants to be on computer screens all the time, right? I want my kids to be outside. And as soon as they start hearing the gunshots, we have to come in. And we have to kind of explain to them every single time what's going on. And as a parent, that is so hard. And I know noise is an issue right here in this hearing, but it is a major issue to every neighbor. And there's a difference between a car going by and an assault rifle being shot nonstop all day. And especially with summertime coming up, we should be excited, but my family is we're depressed because we don't want to be outside. I worry about the safety of my kids, other kids in the neighborhood, and I really wish something would be done. So just thank y'all for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Greg Dew, 3261 Thoroughbred Drive. I've lived in this neighborhood for 33 years. I guess a couple things I would speak to. It's been discussed today that they received notice of violations February 23, and I think the excuse for reason they didn't comply is kind of a shoulder shrug, and we didn't know. There were numerous cars and trucks there probably within the past 45 days. So to say they've cleared it off, yeah, they've cleared it off recently. So that's after 18 or 20 months. Secondly, I'm in the grading business. I'm a grading contractor, have been for almost 40 years. I've received notice of violations for grading either when you're not supposed to or when you're outside the allowance by the plans. And when you receive a stop work order, and I'm pretty certain for Wilson County, it would require immediate stabilization of the site and get all your BMPs and your erosion control in order. That site's not been stabilized. The erosion control wouldn't pass anybody's inspection. And I know based on when the call went into Wilson County Stormwater Management, grading continued. They built cross-tie retaining walls, and so they've had a total disregard for what the rules are. And so to now say, we want to shoot a gun range, but we're going to have tight controls and follow all the rules, when all they've shown for 2 years is they could care less about the rules. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Dallas Farmer. I live on P Road, adjacent to the property. My wife's got a few pictures, if I could, bring up here that I could show y'all.
Sure.
If she would come up. I know Saturday, as one gentleman was speaking about shooting at the gun range, she brings these pictures up, I'll show you. My wife was cutting the front field, slashed our front yard, and as she was doing so, they knew that she was cutting. They could see, but no regards, they went on down, and as they got down there, they just went in and started shooting. My wife is, bring that picture on over here. My wife is cutting here in this field. Here's the back of the gun range.
When was that picture taken?
It's 120, this picture was taken after they cleaned up some of their mess. Probably about...
Last month?
No, right after, in the period of the last rain we had.
Yeah, yes.
So within the last 30 days?
I'd say the
Last 3 weeks.
The last 3 weeks.
Okay, go ahead.
So right here is the gun range. They were shooting. She's mowing here. They know she's mowing. They went on and shooting anyway. Could care less about my wife. She had to stop, come back to the house, wait till Sunday after church, go back up and try to finish. He's got cameras. He knows who's back there. I mean, the guy has no respect. I mean, I'll just tell you. But get that other picture on Floyd. Me and my wife one time was walking up to the front field. I had back surgery, so I got to do some walking in the afternoon, whether I want to or not. But, you know, as we was walking, the school bus came by, and we watched a kid get off the school bus. Now, we may say a sound ordinance is not, we don't worry about it, but a kid getting off the school bus does.
We worry about it. We just don't have one.
Yeah, so this kid, me and my wife sat there and witnessed it. School bus stopped. The noise, the AR was going off. The kid had to look, get off the bus. The mother opened up the front door. He ran inside. They both looked outside to find out exactly which way the gunshots was coming. We have 3 school buses, Wilson County school buses that go down P Road every afternoon. This shouldn't be. A kid should be able to get off his bus and go into the house without to look over their shoulders. I mean, they got to look over their shoulders every day in school. They need to at least come home. I got grandkids that rides the gator in the front field. This is our front field. And I can't even have them over. Period. I can't trust to have them over. I can't trust to let them go out and play or do anything, because you never know when he's going to start shooting again. Water runoff. If you notice, this is one of my sinkholes. This is Andy's driveway, her cousin, which he just completely redone, and it washed again. And you notice how much water is in the gun range. You know how much lead is in the gun range? You know what the water goes through the lead and how much toxic goes out there in the backside of that gun range? You know where that water goes? Right straight into the sinkhole, into the well system, because we have a well right over here. We can't even use our well anymore to feed our animals without getting tested. So we got an underground system problem too. I mean, we have one of the biggest problems here of the shooting. I mean, we got people here that's in the military. I'm in the military for years. We have people across the road. Andy, Frank's in the military. You know, and this PTSD is a real thing. And when you go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, 8:30, because you got to get up early, and you shooting, and somebody over here shooting an AR at 10 o'clock at night and 11 o'clock, and you get woke up, guess what you're thinking? You're in a war zone. We don't need accidents. I mean, we don't need this stuff. We got farmers with horses.
If I could ask, were those other photographs taken about the same time?
Everything was taken about the same time.
It might be beneficial for the board. Mr. John, if you would just show the board those photographs, I'd appreciate it.
Some of this is after he's already cleaned up a lot of his stuff.
This is the range it appears. It doesn't look like a friendly neighborhood range. It looks like a bona fide
Okay. I just thought it would be, since
Yeah.
those pictures were
Yes.
recent, it might be
Yes.
helpful.
Yes, they are recent.
Let me ask a question real quick about your pictures on the floor there. That water runoff, it's coming from the site?
Yeah, it's coming, if you can tell, it's coming down through here and through here. It's all running this way, down this way, over to here into the underground water source.
Thank you.
I think Mr. Neal was asking, maybe y'all couldn't hear about that same issue, and I think that's what the gentleman 2 or 3 testimonies back.
The amount of soil erosion I see in there, I'm a farmer by trade. I see a lot of brown water leaving the site. It's soil erosion. I see a lot of disturbed soil there too.
Right, and he's got 8.5 acres, and it's been over 5 acres been disturbed here on dozer and everything else. And so, and he worked day and night trying to get this set up before this happened. So he's worked very hard to get this gun range there in the last few months.
Hold on, let me ask staff. Is there a T-deck, did y'all say there was not a T-deck land disturbance permit for this site?
There is a T-deck, there's a stop work order for the land disturbance. There was a stabilization requirement that was issued that hadn't been addressed March 14th. I can't speak for where it's been in the interim.
Okay, good. All right. Is that all, sir?
No, sir, I still got a few more.
Go ahead.
If you allow. We have people that work tonights that can't sleep during the day because of the noise. I know a lot of people around there, and they call me because, I was one to run from county commissioner for a while and lost. But that's okay. I did run, but so me and Sonia know each other. We're good friends, so. But the thing about it, we work together too. But the thing about it, we're going to have to get something done because he's wanting to build a 20. If you go back and look at his Facebook page from 2022 and 2023, he tells you exactly what he's going to do, period. And what he is doing is what he's trying to set up to finish now. The 100 by 200 building that he wants to put on this place, a 20,000 square foot building, I don't even see how it's going to fit in the footprint of this, because you got a 300-foot right-of-way there. I know because the powers run across my property. There's 300 foot there. So take the 300 foot off, he really don't have the room that he needs to put a footprint of a 2,000.
I don't know that that is relevant to what we're debating today.
Yeah, it probably is not. Yeah, but it's something that he's going to try to get done next week. If he gets approved today, he will go further, and it will be something that we have to deal with. But on the landscape side of things, I reckon he's going to move all that, what he's saying. I do know that the only problem I have with the landscape is them coming in and out all the time, and then on the weekends burning all their garbage and all that smoke and toxins. And these people are like me that has problems breathing, COPD and all the stuff that they bringing in from all the job sites and just piling it up there and just burning it all weekend. That needed to stop too. Not only do we have to smell stuff, we got to hear stuff. And then we got all this runoff too. So, we do have a lot of issues around there. But if anything, out of this, let's just do this for the kids. Because these kids need to be coming home, be able to go out and play. Grandkids need to be able to come over. Kids need to be able to get off the bus. And they need to be kids. And they don't need to be looking over their shoulder.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, my name is Kasha Passaniti, 3468 Pew Road. I am the bottom left corner of that picture. My kids are scared. My 6-year-old talks about guns all the time now. She does not ride her bike anymore. She goes inside, watches TV, which is not something that we want her doing. We're not having summer barbecues this summer because nobody wants to sit outside and listen to that. I am a September 11th survivor, and that explosion, as you could tell, I'm shaken up by it. I don't know when the next one's coming. I just have to live in my house and prepare that my house is gonna shake, my windows will rattle, there's noises everywhere, and this is the quality of life that I now have on a property that I have owned for 8 years. I moved here for the peace. I work for the school district. We have 3 county buses that go down that road twice a day. We also have Davidson County buses that go down that road. So there are at least 8 school buses that go down that road. I think safety has been brought up, and I think, how can we trust that anything happening there is safe when no permits have been pulled, no inspections have been done? I'm not against guns. I just need it to be safe, and I need it to be reasonable. These are automatic weapons going off all day, Saturdays, Sundays, when we're supposed to be with our families. And then just to confirm some of the questions that were asked today, there are, just this morning, landscaping vehicles still leaving that property to go to job sites. On my way here, that is what I saw. There are also Solarian vehicles in and out of that property every day. So it is not just a parking ground. They leave, they come back, they leave, they come back. Also this morning on my way here, there are at least 6 people digging a trench from the electrical pole that was put in recently on the property. So I don't know if that is covered by the stop work order, but it is like happening right now, assumingly to put some electrical wire in the ground. I think everything else that I had to say has been said before. This is not what we want for our community. I have not heard a single benefit of this that is brought to our community. So thank you all for the great questions you have asked and for letting us speak today.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Ray Frazier. I live across the street from this area at 4093 South Mount Juliet Road, and we've been dealing with it since February 2023, as you all have said. The main thing that I want to ask you, and I think it's already been asked, would you want this in your backyard or in your front yard? Would you want to hear all the things that we hear? Would you want to feel the earth shake beneath you? And sitting in your own living room watching TV on a Sunday afternoon, would you like for your house to literally feel like it just lifted off the foundation and sat back down because of an explosion? And then when we call, everybody shows up. That's a lot of enforcement to try to figure out what's going on, a lot of wasted tax dollars that we're spending to figure out what's happening on this property. To this date, we don't know what's happening. We see it, but we don't know about all these stop work orders, all the things that are happening behind the scenes. We don't know, after the 52 calls that our residents have made, we don't know the outcome. We just trust that things are being taken care of. I appreciate today that we get to come and share our concerns and our fears within this community. I've lived there for 20 plus years. We bought the house due to the quietness, to the rural aspect, never dreaming that we would have something like this come into our neighborhood. And for someone to buy a piece of property knowing that this is what they were wanting to do in a residential zoning, that's disrespect to everyone that's around that property. I'm going to read a statement from another neighbor, and I know that some of it is redundant of some things that have been said today, but she wanted this to be shared. I am writing to express my deep concern regarding the proposed rezoning of a property near our neighborhood for the intended construction and operation of a gun range. As a resident of Poplar Ridge South Winds, I believe that this development will have a detrimental effect on the quality of life for our community, and I am asking for your assistance in preventing this rezoning from moving forward. First and foremost, I want to highlight the significant impact this proposal could have on the value of our homes. Many of us have invested considerable time.
Stop you for 2 or 3 reasons. A, this lady's speaking to a rezoning, which we're not considering.
Okay.
She's speaking to property values, which we cannot consider unless she's a registered appraiser. And thirdly, I did let the other statement be read because it was pretty short. This one's pretty lengthy, and we can't consider testimony that's not given under oath.
Okay.
So
I understand.
Let's move on. If we
Okay. Thank you all for your consideration of hearing us, the neighborhood.
Good afternoon, members of the BZA, Mr. Chairman. Jason Holloman, I'm an attorney in Nashville, and I'm here on behalf of several of the adjacent property owners. I just want to make a couple of points, which is that, as you all know, this is R1 zone property, which is your lowest density, least impactful residential zoning category. And you really only have two things that are permitted by right in that zoning category, which is single-family zoning with accessory dwelling and farming. And then you do allow some accessory in-home occupations, but that's all. And anything else has to either come through rezoning or come through a special exception permit. Now, we're here today on a special exception permit, but when you look in your zoning code at the identified special exceptions that may be allowed on appeal, they are all community-oriented uses that support residential life. It's a school, it's a church, it's a recreational facility, it's a golf course. It is not a high-intensity gun range. And I do want to just mildly disagree with the chairman in one regard, which is that you don't have a sound or a noise ordinance per se in Wilson County. But when you come on a special exception request, you're saying we want special permission. We want something outside of what is allowed. And under 64004 in your zoning code, when you are considering a special exception request, it specifically says that the board may, at its discretion, require reasonable conditions to be met concerning the location of structures, access to property, noise, dust, vibrations, and other reasonable requirements that the board may set. So in this context, I would argue that you can consider the noise that would be generated by this. Now, it refers to it in the context of setting conditions. I mean, what we're asking for today is a denial, but I think in reaching a denial, you consider all of those factors that impact neighboring property owners, which would be the dust, the dirt, the noise, the vibrations, and the sound of the guns that are coming and impacting these neighbors. So for those reasons, and I would also just last point out that it's pretty telling that there has been a rezone request filed. Right now pending is a request to move this over to commercial zoning, which not only requires that rezoning, but it's not compatible with your existing land use plan, and so it would require a land use plan amendment. So in that context, the only thing that you can grant special exception requests for are those identified uses or something that is similar to that. And I would certainly argue that where you have to have a complete categorical rezone that also includes a land use plan amendment, it is not similar to those things that are identified, and for that reason I would ask that it be denied.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Frank Marti. I've lived at 3479 Pugh Road for over 25 years. My driveway goes up the left side of that photo behind you. My house is about 200 feet just past the tree line in that picture. I'll spare you the redundancy of talking about the noise and everything, but a couple of things that haven't been addressed. The construction in the last few months that's going on, in addition to the landscaping company burning brush, one time in particular where the emergency management was called was during a time where it was regionally known that it was particularly dry and windy. There wasn't a countywide burn ban, but it was strongly encouraged for people not to burn. They were burning anyway. In addition to that, during the construction of the gun range, which utilizes railroad ties mainly, I guess the additional railroad ties weren't needed. They're hard to get rid of, so an extremely large pile of them was burned underneath the TVA power lines. So much so that by the time I called the emergency management, many other people have already called thinking it was a house fire. That's how big this fire was. It may go without saying that creosote-covered railroad ties is a carcinogen. That was just smoke filled the air, the whole community. So basically the decision on the use of this property will affect this area in the near future and in the distant future forever if it's approved as a gun range. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Lonnie Sanders, 4174 South Mount Juliet Road. I live directly in that pie-shaped form property right there, right on top of it. I have 7 grandchildren, 6-year-old to 14-year-old, which rides four-wheelers, go-karts, mini bikes. They ride on some of this property. They don't go down in there where they're shooting stuff like that, but he allows them to come in there. I'm not concerned with them whatsoever. They're safe. There has been some loud noises some time back where they set off some kind of loud thing or something like that about 2 times. And that was, loud. But other than that, they shoot. And for the last month, you hadn't heard hardly anything out of them at all. And they put them ties in there 3 wide and all the way up, I don't know, 20 foot high or something like that, maybe 18. And it's all the way around with a gate going in. And I look down on the property every day right out my back door. Inside my house, I have not heard one time shooting. Of course, I've got a TV on. I may not hear as good as other folks, but I haven't heard anything in the last month. The only thing I have heard in the last month is I came home from Dixon, Tennessee, and I heard a noise out there, and I knew there was nobody on the property because I know some of the people that's back there. When I met Mr. Byrd, the first thing he told me was we like to shoot. I said I have no problem with that. I don't like to shoot. I own 2 guns. The only reason I have those, they belong to my father. But it's his property. As far as I'm concerned, he can do what he wants with it as long as it's within whatever range y'all say. But like I said, I've got these grandchildren. They know what they can do and what they can't do. I've been down in there. I've looked. I've seen them shoot. But the only thing I've heard in the last month was from a neighbor at the house over on the side. And I walked out there because I knew nobody was present on the property. And he made about 18 shots from the mother-in-law, which is no longer there. She passed, God rest her soul. But he was making shots, and when he saw me standing there, I walked to the place where it was open, and first I thought, where's this coming from? And I looked down there where they shoot, because I hadn't heard that noise in a while. And he was making shots, and once he saw me, he made sure that he was shooting that way, which he can't get to me because he's low. But he's on the adjoining property over next to Pew. That's the only thing I've heard loud, and you said, of course, noise is not an issue. But I have no concern whatsoever what he does back there. I want to do what I want to do on my property. He wants to do what he wants to do on his. Y'all are over all that. But like I said, I joined him 700-something feet right there. And it's right out my back door. Nobody shoots before I get out of bed. I get up 5, 6, 7. I don't hear anything that early in the morning. I don't know if they've ever shot that early, unless I'm gone. I'm not gone very often.
If you can't hear them shoot when you're in your house, how do you know what time they start shooting?
Because I come in and out. I'm always doing something outside, this, that, and the other, and I'll walk out and I think, well, there'll be somebody shooting down there. So now early in the morning, I get out and do all kind of stuff in the yard. Matter of fact, I just like to clean up. I'll be down there on his place picking stuff up and moving it around or whatever, just making things look better, weed eating here and there. I've actually cut some trails back there on him where the kids can ride, and I asked him if he had a problem with that. He said no, but anyway.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
I have one question for the...
Go ahead, sir.
How do your grandchildren access the property?
How do they?
How do they access it when they ride go-karts?
I join them from behind.
Okay.
There's a ditch back there that they, maybe this deep or whatever, but I mean, I just walk back there, I mean.
So the property's not secure all the way around?
No, the only thing that's secure on it is the pistol range back there that when he put that in, which he's done that in the last couple of 3 months or something like that, the noise level, just like my wife, I said, look, they're shooting out there. And she said, I don't hear anything, And I said, well, they're shooting. But in the last 3 or 4 weeks or something like that, I've heard nothing out of anybody besides a few pops here and there. And the neighbors shoot. They like to shoot. Lester lives next door to me. I don't guess he shot anything over a .22 rifle or something like that, But
so the property is not secure. It is not gated, fenced.
The whole property is not gated. No, neither is mine. And I move over onto different people's property. I guess I don't belong there, but until they say anything, I guess Lester see me over in his yard doing stuff too, digging out a cupboard or whatever.
All right,
but anyway,
see if we can stay on track and move on. You have anything else, sir?
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir.
My name is Mike Mayo, 605 Doris Place. I live about 1/8 of a mile away from the range. I want to speak about Mr. Byrd as a neighbor, not so much as a gun range. Enough's been said about that. But it seems to be that when he came before you, he was asking you to tell him what he needed to comply. He didn't mention once this neighborhood that he was potentially causing a problem in. If you look at these people in these chairs behind me, they're at the edge of retirement or in retirement. They moved to their area because it's a quiet, well-maintained place, and they want to enjoy their retirement without things like this being added to it. You get older, sounds become a little bit more sensitive. A crying child in a restaurant, you want to be set the furthest from them. But anyway, it seems like what he has said and what I have listened to has been, well, if they did it, I'm going to do it. And if they did it like this, I'm going to do it. And sitting and watching his reaction to some of these comments.
Let's don't get into his.
Okay, but this is about him and the board and what he's bringing, because potentially.
I understand, but I don't know that that's something we consider.
Okay. So anyway, we get back to the point of the gun range he has on there, and he said he wants to abide by the rules. But why is he still building? Why does he keep building? He hasn't stopped. He's moved the vehicles, and that was prior to zoning coming down there and taking the sound analysis for the rifles and the pistols. Now, if you approve this, when are we going to see a .50 caliber come in there? I don't know if a lot of you have been around when it goes off, but it shakes the dirt completely back behind you. So when you put a gun range, what is the limit to it? He's got a little tank. Is he going to shoot that one day? I don't know. Is he going to shoot the tenonite that explodes as a part of an exploding target? I don't know. But he doesn't know either. He's just saying, give it to me and let me do what I want. And again, this is a neighborhood that's quiet, and he's come into it with something that is not really necessary. If he wants to do something, they want to play good guy, bad guy, get some paintball guns and run around till they fall over and shoot each other. That's quiet. It doesn't bother anybody. And they do the same training. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Erin Evans. I live at 5109 Vineyard Point in Hermitage, Tennessee. I'm on the Metro Nashville Council representing District 12. I am not lost. I'm in the right place. District 12 backs up to this particular property. So I only hear from residents in this area around two different issues. The first issue is they don't want me to raise their property taxes. The second issue is this particular potential use and noise from guns. Unfortunately, I've had a similar issue in a different part of District 12. The only remedy I ended up having was rezoning the whole property for a completely different use and having it developed in order to get the gun noises to stop and the invitations to law enforcement officers to stop to come out and shoot on the particular property I'm referencing. So all the residents, I think, have said everything that I needed to say, but I wanted to make sure people understood that I also support the things that they're saying, because in the end, dealing with this kind of commercial use on a residential property is very difficult to manage, and it's not a good idea to approve this today. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Michelle Dotson. I reside at 3514 Hobson Pike, and I am located about a half a mile from the site. I just want to address two concerns. One was that this is not being operated as a business, but I just want to give the analogy. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it swims like a duck, it's a duck. Whether it's benefiting at no value, it still is a business if they're operating, moving things in and out. The other item was, where has the funding come? Is it all personal funding for the site, or is it business-related funding? So if it's business-related funding, it's a business. The second item I'd like to address is the potential for illegal weapons being shot on this property. My husband's a 22-year Army retired combat vet. We were sitting in our house last weekend and heard the noises half a mile away. We hear it clearly with everything closed in the house. And I said, honey, what was that? He's like, oh, that's an illegal gun. He goes, they do it all the time. So that came from an expert in the Army. So anyways, just wanted to express my concerns. As with all the other neighbors, I am strictly opposed to that. Thank you.
My name is William Hood. I live at 4051 South Mount Juliet Road. I live across the street from the deaf guy. Waking up on Saturday morning to automatic gunfire is not fun. Explosions. He knows what these people know what they're going to do with this. I will. I'll look at you the rest of the time.
That's good.
There is a TWRA firing range. Anything you want to shoot that's legal, less than 2.5 miles, maybe less than 2 miles from where they're building this gun range. It's safe. It has sign-ins. They check your guns. Everything is perfect. But no, they want to run around like inferior SWAT teams and shoot their automatic weapons and blow their antenna right up and think that they're little civilian SWAT team because they can put on a blue uniform that says police on the back. I don't want that in my neighborhood. I don't want to wake up on Saturday morning to a gunfight. I've been living there 27 years. And since this has gone on, my wife will tell you, I'll be sitting there watching the news, and I'll look over and go, 9mm. Oh, AK-47. Shotgun. And it's just, you don't know when it's going to happen. But weekends is usually more than during the week. But the noise has leveled off lately because I think they knew that this was coming. So they've not been over there shooting too much. But just as soon as you let them have this, they're going to do exactly what their plans were. And there's nothing you're going to do about it once you give him permission to put that in there. So just remember, there's a gun range 2 miles away that's safe. But they don't want that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Tina Herndon. I live at 4009 Dale. I've lived there for 30 years. And forgive me for skipping around because I don't want to repeat anything that's already been said. And this will be pretty quick. Okay, I have a question. I'm curious why there is no noise ordinance. Just my comment. And like for the 4th of July, there's the restrictions where you can only do your fireworks during certain days and times. Well, this is pretty much 4th of July year-round. And of course, everyone knows about pets and everything that people warn about when 4th of July comes around. So anyway, I have asthma, and so I'm always concerned about that. And I have researched about lead that is in the air. I did not know that. When a gun apparently has a bullet and a primer in the lead, and apparently lead can get out. And and that there is no safe level of lead exposure for kids. I did not know that. I thought maybe a little bit would be okay. But anyway, so I'm thinking, there's wild animals, deer. We have lots of deer. We love to see the deer, and they're getting that on their feet, and they're getting that around. So, deer are everywhere. Are they spreading lead? I don't know. And I also know that that there was going to be at one time on that property, a church was going to build there, but the land did not perk. And I guess that's why it's always been barren all this time for 30 years. And so, because the land is clay and has the bedrock is, close to the surface. Let's see. I think I'm almost done. Well, anyway, so now, members of the board, I want you to take a good look in the mirror tonight and ask yourselves if you're really standing up for what's right. We trust the right thing will be done. Our future depends on your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. If there's no one else there that wishes to testify on 4275, I think, I'll close the public hearing, and we'll move to the board for discussion or a motion. And I guess the first thing I need to do is deal with the withdrawal request. So the applicant has requested to withdraw the application for special use of the property for parking of Solarian or commercial vehicles, and the application for parking of use as a landscape business. So based on the applicant's request to withdraw these two items, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that...
Now, this is to withdraw those two items.
Two items, yes.
You don't...
Let me give my opinion. In my opinion, we shouldn't take these out of our decision because, let's suppose tomorrow he decides to come back and start parking again.
Well, here's the thing.
You don't
already been cited in violation for doing so. He's asked for special use for these two items, and as Mr. Jennings clarified earlier, it is an applicant's right to withdraw.
And you actually do not have to vote on that.
Okay.
At this point, you don't have to vote for the withdrawal, and those two instances of this case will not be considered since he has withdrawn. Now, Mr. Jennings did clarify that it's not going to change anything on the pending lawsuit. So if he's still operating in violation, that's still going to continue forward.
We don't have to have a motion, you're saying?
Not for a withdrawal. A deferral is a different animal.
Okay. Am I in your way? Okay. All right, so those two items are withdrawn. So what in front of the board is a special use request for the gun range only.
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
And under our interpretation, that's a public recreational facility is the closest thing we have.
With that clarification, go ahead, sir.
I make a motion that we deny based on staff recommendation.
Have a motion to deny the request for the gun range based on staff recommendations.
Second.
And I have a second. Let me offer an amendment that our denial is not only based on staff recommendations, but it's clear from testimony given that even though this facility may not be operated for profit, it is obvious from testimony and the information in our file that the magnitude of the operation is that of a commercial nature. Certainly by the amount of people who are visiting, the hours of operation, large crowds, vibration that is has been testified by the public, the ongoing noise issues, all of which are within the board's purview for a special use permit. I'll amend the motion to include those items. Do you accept, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Robinson, you accept? Okay. So we have the motion properly amended. Any discussion?
I just very briefly as a discussion, I think by its definition, R1 is very restrictive, and it does get to be a quality of life issue, as one of the commissioners mentioned, that it gets to be a quality of life issue with this. I think that's very important to consider that.
Very good. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion as made and amended, vote aye. Aye. Any opposition, vote no. Motion passes. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to recess right now. Susan. Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order, and we'll get on with our agenda. Case 4276 is our next docket item. Josh Stevenson requesting a variance of 2,800 square feet from the accessory size requirement of 2,000 feet without a house on the property. If approved, the proposed structure will be 4,800 square feet. Property is located at 524 Acorn Way, parcel 67, on Wilson County Tax Map 100, consisting of 4.68 acres, zoned R1 residential. We get staff recommendations on 4276.
Mr. Chair, the applicant is requesting a variance of 2,800 square feet for an accessory structure requirement from the 2,000 square foot without a house on the property. This would allow for a structure of 4,800 square feet. The zoning ordinance states that accessory structures on R1 zone property may not exceed 4% of the total lot area with a maximum size of 2,000 square feet. Therefore, given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval. Staff will also note that the applicant is currently working with the Stormwater Office to mitigate their erosion control concerns. I do have an update on that. As of April 12th, 2025, the silt fencing on the site has been repaired and or replaced. The issues there have been cleaned up for stormwater's concerns. It is staff's understanding that the applicant intends to build a home on the property, but presently there is not a permit for a residential structure on file with the county. That information is there because if there is a permit for a home, the accessory structure size is doesn't need to be considered. We do not have a limit on accessory structure if there is a residence on the property.
Okay, who's here to represent 4276 Stevenson? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Josh Stevenson, 1547 Stonehill Road.
And anything you'd like to tell the board, sir?
I'm just building a garage. It just happens to be before the house is being built. I do have an engineered letter addressing the stormwater, if y'all need that.
What were you doing where the stormwater was not in compliance? Was you clearing land or building a road or?
Yeah, I was just removing some underbrush and clearing some of the area. There's really not much I can do, to stop the water from going down the hill. I put up a silt fence where I disturbed the area.
Well, this is for a 2,800 square foot accessory structure, and you're asking for 4,800.
Right, that was the 2,800 additional. Does it say 28?
In summary, it appears the 2,800 square foot accessory structure will have minimal impact on the stormwater.
I can get him to change that.
What is your time period as far as building a house, as far as your plans on the house?
It's pretty quick. As soon as I can get the permitting going on that, I'll probably, start that process. But, it's all about money, trying to get funds in order to start that process.
Do you plan to operate a business out of this structure?
Absolutely not. No, this is all personal use.
Mm-hmm. Storage outside?
No, it's only going to just be a driveway to it with doors.
There'd be no business run out of this structure. That's quite a variance. And of course, if you had the house there or even had the house permitted,
right,
you wouldn't have to have a variance.
Yeah, I like I said, it's just all, funding right now, trying to build stuff, with what I have.
Okay. Board have any other questions?
How big is the lot?
4.68 acres.
And the location of this on your property is where?
It is the
far western, far eastern portion of it.
Okay, so back off the road a pretty good piece.
Yeah, it's far off the road.
So your access to the property would be
The access is Acorn Way, but.
Acorn Way, that cul-de-sac.
Right, the drive would go down the southernmost border to the garage.
Not that it maybe matters, but just for my curiosity, will you run electricity and/or water to this accessory?
Not right now. I mean, maybe after I build a house or something like that.
After you build a house, that's not a none of it's a problem after the house is there.
What's your time frame for building a house?
Building the house, hopefully within a year, I start the process.
So you think you'd have it permitted within a year?
I mean, maybe. It's all about, trying to get my ducks in a row as far as funding.
Okay.
Will the drive to this building access will be the same drive to your house as well?
Correct.
Any other questions of the applicant? Anyone else here wish to speak to 4276 Stevenson? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. Yes, sir.
Good morning. I'm Stephen Warner. I live at 342 Oak Point Terrace. And on your map, that's this weird triangle piece immediately to the left of his property. So his work on the property over the last 3 years has been significant. That does not reflect in the percentage of trees he's cut down. He says clearing brush. There are no trees in the vast majority of that property. He has cut a ton of brush out. As a result of that, I've been the recipient of significant wastewater and rainwater debris coming down on my property. He also has dumped dump truck loads after dump truck load after dump truck load of rock and fill on the property, filling in sinkholes, all of that without any appropriate approval from state or local. He's had 2 stop work orders from wastewater, and he has worked consistently through them. And so as a result of that, there is silting on my property, significant drainage damage on my property to the light. My house is sort of just off the top of that. It runs from his property to my property. My garage has flooded every time it's rained hard with water that is running down the hill from areas where his silt fence was down for over a year. And that's why there was a stop work order. And when we started complaining about it, he went back and fixed it a couple weeks ago. And we'll give him credit, he did that. It has damaged my garage. I've had to sweep out inches of water out of my garage every single heavy rain, along with silt that's come off there. It has also significantly silted the north branch of Suggs Creek, which is directly north of there. There's been silting in that creek every time it rains. Every time. And so we are not opposed to him building on the property. I'm opposed to building a structure that is 5,000 square feet and will only exacerbate the wastewater issues we have on my property as impacted by his. So if he wants to do it the right way, we're absolutely fine with it. I don't want to tell anybody what they can't do it. He hasn't pulled appropriate TDEC permits or any of the wastewater permits on major renovations. He's clear cut 3 acres. And as far as I can tell, anything beyond an acre of clear cutting requires appropriate permitting with environmental conservation. Wastewater's been out there repeatedly, put stop work orders on him, and he's worked right through them. So,
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address 4276? Yes, sir.
My name is Johnny Jenkins. I live at 340 Oak Point Terrace, which is immediately behind Mr. Stevenson's property and right next door to the previous gentleman, Mr. Warner, who spoke. I've been living there for 31 years. The first residents who built that home, they added that. The gentleman.
What home are you referring to?
I'm sorry. The 342 Oak Point Terrace.
That's not the one we're considering right now, is it?
No, but it leads to the flooding of the garage.
Okay.
So the first homeowner there built the garage himself, and has had there's been problems. The residents now that live there are the 4th residents to be in that house. And there has been, I've known all the people there, close friends with them, close friends with the ones now, but there's always been an issue with water getting into that garage. They've tried sealing it, they've put in a French drain, they've done, I'm told they've done a berm, different things, but personally, and it's just my opinion, I'm not a contractor or anything, but I feel like it's because there was never a proper grade away from the house to shed water. That being said, like I said, I'm directly behind 420, with the lot in question, downhill.
424 is what we're talking, 424 Acorn Way.
Acorn Way, 424 Acorn Way. My property is directly behind that and downhill from there. And the only thing that I have noticed is there was some runoff coming off of Acorn Way, and it went down, and it did trench out that silt, moved the silt thing down, and there was some water that came down the hill pretty good, but it didn't really affect me or anybody that near, because there were some boulders down there that stopped it, but that's been corrected. That's been rectified since, and so I really don't see how any silt has gotten into the creek across the street. That seems like that would be a pretty hard factor to do, but nevertheless, all I'm here to say is that I'm just not opposed to whatever building that they need to put on Acorn Way. There's been, I built a shop myself, got permitted correctly, but I built a shop myself on my property several years ago. There's several houses on Oak Point that I live on that have built shops. Now Acorn Way, I don't think there's any shops. Of course, the lots are very small, but I'm done. I'm just not opposed to it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, if not, we'll close public comment on 4276 Stevenson, and we'll turn to the board for some discussion or a motion. And we have given some of these in the past, but I thought they were a right smart less. Well, this is 140% variance.
Right, it's excessive.
I mean, we've given some, but they've been,
I don't know if we've given any of this size. This will probably be the largest.
yeah, or, yeah, it's just quite large.
I mean, it's not the largest accessory structure we have. It's the largest one that we have that doesn't have a residence.
Variance.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree. We've got some, 5, 10, 12,000 square foot accessory structures out there.
Yes, sir.
But they got a house.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So do I hear a motion in regard to 4276?
Mr. Chairman, based on the variance being quite excessive and based on the testimony given here today, I'm going to move that we deny this based on staff recommendations.
I have a motion to deny based on staff recommendations. Do I have a second?
Go ahead. I'll second.
Second from Mr. Blades. Now, discussion. So, just so I'm clear, Mr. Lawless, if the gentleman gets a building permit and commences, then he doesn't need a variance?
He does not need a variance. No, sir. He will still have to go through the proper permitting stages, but the size would not be in question.
And does the size not being in question, does that come a fact when the permit is pulled or when the house is finished?
As long as he has an active permit for the residence.
Okay.
So he could finish the garage first still, but he has to have a permit on file for the residence.
I got you. Okay.
And before we vote, I might just say for the sake of the applicant, the reason being that you build this building, you don't build your house, and then financially you sell it, well, the next guy comes in here and he wants to put a commercial business in here. That is.
He would have to get a permit in that situation for that, which obviously he can't do.
He could, we see this occasionally where they come in illegally and start running a business out of a building like that.
Well,
But anyway, that was just for my point.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, folks, the public hearing is closed. Y'all want to debate it on your own time, have at it. All right, any discussion on the motion before the board? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition, vote no. The ayes have it. Thank you, sir. Okay. Our next case was deferred. That would be case 4277. Case 4278 was deferred. And I think we're ready for case 4279. Scott Bradley, on behalf of Kim Rezak, requesting a variance of 180 feet from the size requirement of 600 feet for internal accessory dwelling quarters. If approved, the internal accessory dwelling quarters will be 780 square feet. The property is located at 505 Wilson Drive, Lot 5. Smoke Rise is Group A, Parcel 9 on Wilson County Tax Map 73C, consisting of approximately 42,800 square feet, zoned R1 residential. We'll get staff recommendations now on 4279.
Mr. Chair, the applicant is requesting a variance of 180 square feet from the size requirement of 600 square feet for an internal accessory dwelling quarters. On site review of the property, it was noted that the accessory structure has already been constructed and that the structure is actually closer to 821 square feet, which would require a variance of 221 square feet. So that variance request, in staff's opinion, needs to be amended from 180 to 221. The applicant is going to attach the structure via roof line, making it part of the primary residence on the site. Given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval of the size variance. Staff will note that such variances have been granted in cases where the applicant is faced with hardships such as meeting ADA compliance standards.
So are you telling us that this has already been?
It is already on site, yes, sir. Yes, sir, that's the structure.
I thought they were supposed to be internal.
Well, he's going to meet the internal requirement by connecting it via the roof line, so it'll be part of the primary structure.
How far away is it?
It is roughly 51 feet, I think. If this, to give you a similar situation, if this was in an A1 zone district, which this property is not zoned A1, this would probably qualify as a duplex via our definition of a duplex. We don't require a duplex to share a party wall as long as the structures are connected via a common roof line.
And who's here to represent 4279? That you?
Scott Bradley.
And your address?
The address of the property or my actual?
Your address.
3580 Pfizer Road. That's Springfield.
Okay. And what would you like to tell the board, sir?
I was hired to finish this after the fact, and since it's already built, I guess she was under the impression that if it was attached, she would be approved for 800. And so that was the idea with connecting the roof lines.
So it's built. Was it permitted when it was built?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I was hired, sorry, I don't like talking in front of people, so, you know.
I don't really either, but I have to.
It makes me nervous, but, so I was actually hired first, and then I'm assuming she found, you know, I get it all the time, cheaper person, whatever it is, and then came in after there was a stop work order.
But you're on the project now for purposes?
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's supposed to be no more than 600, but it's 821. And if you don't get this variance, then you're going to connect the roof lines? Is that what I'm hearing?
No. The roof line will have to be connected for it to be, well, I mean, he doesn't have to connect a roof line. They're choosing to connect the roof line to make it an internal accessory dwelling unit. He could come before you for an external accessory dwelling unit, which is an allowable use on R1 for the same variance request. They're just choosing to connect the roof line. That part's not necessarily pertinent. It just changes it from an external accessory dwelling unit to what we consider an internal.
Why wouldn't that have been the go-to move to begin with?
Well, I mean, they're offering to connect it via roof line, so I'm presenting it to you the way they're proposing it.
There's no advantage for zoning.
No, absolutely not. It's the same request whether it's internal or external.
I think the reason she had that is because she had talked to somebody that said if you attach it, she would be approved. I don't think she knew about another option.
But if she attaches it, she won't be approved. She still
No, not if it's considered a dwelling unit. The only remedy for that in this case, it would be if we could classify it as a duplex, but she would have to downzone for that and change her zoning.
Okay.
And then as opposed to a dwelling unit, it would be considered a duplex.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When I looked this, there's the bathroom and kitchen. Has it been hooked up to a sewer, I guess?
I don't think it has.
Well,
I know that there's plumbing in a ditch up there, but I don't think there's any plumbing in the.
Well, Chris, or whoever, explain to me why this wouldn't be considered a second residence on one lot, or would it be? I'm kind of confused there.
Well, I mean, it is going to be considered, it's an internal dwelling unit, which is,
well, I think
there's a stipulation to allow a second residence with this.
Dwelling then.
It would be a dwelling unit that has its own exterior access separate from the primary property. An internal dwelling unit has a maximum size requirement of 600 square feet.
And I don't mean to interrupt, I'm assuming the porch, whatever's going on here with the porch, it's under the roof, that would be a part of it, and if you were to lose the porch, could you get, how much square footage?
We're only counting what is completely walled in for the internal.
You're not even counting the porch as that?
Not in that 821 square feet.
Scratch that idea.
so. Up until a year or two ago, or whenever it was, you couldn't have these type of things, and the commission came along and at some point, relatively recently,
I think 2023, yes, sir.
and said, okay, we're going to allow
internal dwelling units.
Mother-in-law apartments.
Some people call them mother-in-laws, yeah.
Yep.
And then we have this, but to be considered, it has to be attached and a variance given.
It does not have to be attached. It could be considered as an external or just an accessory dwelling unit.
Well, I'm getting back to what Mr. Crockett asked. If you do that, why is this not just two residences on one site?
All of our accessory dwelling units in theory are residences, two residences on a site. We just allow them.
Not a second resident if it's under 600 square feet.
Yeah. We've just put a size cap.
I'm being kind of facetious now, obviously, but the lady that's been trying to get the two trailers on one lot, why does Betty Sue, pull the trailer up beside the other and put a roof across the both of them?
That'd be less than 600 square foot.
Well,
600 square feet.
You can't. Yeah, you can't.
But if
trailers and
okay.
I just kind of have a problem with it.
If she pulled the two trailers together and connected them, she wouldn't be here. I guess.
It'd be a duplex.
It depends on whether you walled them off or not, I guess. Okay, but
okay, sorry.
No, did that sort of answer your question? Okay.
That's how you play the rules.
Well, I think here we got one rule run into the other on a violation to begin with.
Right now, the existing dwelling unit is there. The roof line is not. So regardless of whether it's an internal dwelling unit or just an accessory dwelling unit, the size variance is still needed.
Got you.
Connecting the roof line is no benefit to the applicant.
I got you. So
regardless.
Karen's got a point.
Y'all, hold on, hold. Y'all have something you want to share with everybody, or no?
Well, just clearing up the roof line. It's supposed to be 600 indoor, outdoor. An accessory dwelling is 600. The roof lines doesn't change the zoning issue on that.
Exactly.
Correctly?
Okay. Correct. Now, Mr. Blades.
Quick question. I'm not sure you can answer. Is there an ADA situation with this being added on?
I'm not sure what the requirements are for that.
I mean, does a lady, does a woman that you're building, involved in this, is she disabled?
No.
Okay, that answers that. Okay.
So
Aaron's got a point.
Any other questions for this gentleman?
Is there any hardship that you're aware of?
yes, so it's a mother and daughter that own the property. The mom that is going to live in that lost her husband. He was law enforcement. The daughter also lost her husband, so they're just wanting to be together. She's moving from somewhere in Memphis, 2,700 square foot, and, you know, trying to squeeze that in.
I would say that was the reason for the whole thing. They wanted to be together. I understand that. Is there any hardship?
The only hardship I know is
that would be, let me see, hardship not self-imposed, that would not apply to anybody else up and down the street. You know, anybody could have relatives they want to move in, but anything of that nature.
Where the variance needed to go from 600 to 800, a hardship that required that?
No, sir.
Okay.
Where's the electricity provided for this?
I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, it's going to be separate.
I would assume if I end up doing the full project order, it'll be a separate service.
Okay. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak to 4279?
Me.
That's Scott Bradley on behalf of Kim Rezak.
She does.
Yeah,
I've got a question.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I've got a question. I was not on site for this review, so my question is, in these pictures, it does not look like this, what accessory dwelling unit is what it looks like, is nowhere near to the house.
It's about 50 feet away.
So
Connected with a 50-foot roof line.
that was what my
So
question
is your question, is it viable?
My question is it going to be attached or will it stay detached?
I think she was the only one that attached if that was a way to.
If that was a way to get by with
yeah.
it being 800 square feet. But it doesn't matter whether it's attached or detached, there's still a 600 square foot requirement. So it looks like this is going to be a detached dwelling unit. I would think, because it's so far away from the house.
With its own powers.
I don't know that if somebody were to approve this based on it being an interior dwelling unit and they attached it, aesthetically look like we're doing everybody a disservice. I can't imagine a 50-foot thing run out there. So, anyway, if there's no one else who wishes to speak to this case, let's close the public hearing and turn to the board for a discussion if we need to have any more, or a motion.
Mr. Chair, with the porch attached to this, I mean, this is getting close to 1,000 square foot structure. To me, it looks like it is a complete separate dwelling, and not be able to use the power source provided to the house unless they go to a 700 amp service or up the service to there to pull a wire. And this is not on sewer, is it?
This development, I believe, no, this is not, it's on septic. There's not sewer in this older development.
So I would assume that this septic permit is probably maxed out with the number of bedrooms that are in the house.
We haven't discussed that, but I wouldn't doubt. Certainly no. Anything about the septic? Okay, all right. Anything else from the board? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny.
Have a motion to deny 4279 based on staff recommendation, sir?
Sir.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, second. Any discussion on the motion to deny? And if not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank you for coming, sir. Our next case is case 4280, Tom Ward on behalf of Joseph Clark, requesting a variance from the sewer requirement for C3 commercial zone property. The property is located at 3625 Murfreesboro Road, Lot 2A, W.G. Baird property, parcel 35 on Wilson County Tax Map 114, consisting of 4.53 acres. We get staff recommendations on 4280.
Mr. Chair, the applicant is requesting a variance from sewer requirement for a C3 highway commercial zone property. Staff cannot recommend approval of the sewer variance, but will note that similar variances have been granted if the applicant was able to prove the septic system was adequate for the proposed use of the property. The applicant has submitted a letter from TDEC which states the existing septic record exceeds the minimum linear footage required to serve 6 employees for which he intends to have. This is a request. The applicant is wanting to put a recreational vehicle sales lot on the property, which is a use allowed in the C3 district. But due to our commercial requirements, he will require the sewer variance. He's agreed to meet all other commercial standards.
My question would be, this variance is in the ordinance. In other words, you have to be on sewer unless you come here and get a variance for it.
Yes, sir. Yep, for commercial properties.
What do you base your negative recommendation?
Just the language in the zoning ordinance that all commercial properties must be connected to a public sewer or form of.
Unless we do differently.
Correct.
I mean, they're allowed to come here by language in the ordinance.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Who's here to represent 4280?
Just to kind of build off that, I would not approve a site plan for this property unless he proved to me he had public sewer or the Board of Zoning Appeals approval case number.
Okay. 4280, Tom Ward on behalf of Joseph Clark. Yes, sir. You want to come forward? Hi. And what would you like to tell the board, sir?
Well, I'd like to tell the board that I'd like to request a sewer variance so that we can have 4 to 6 employees start and run a power sport recreational business under my Tennessee motor vehicle license 18056. And I've been a motor vehicle license dealer since 1983. I'm a retired Air Force Tennessee Air Guard C-130 Hercules commander. I'm from Lebanon. And I've lived in Lebanon on and off most of my life and own businesses. I own a business currently since 2018 on East Division Street called A1 Fun Cycles. And I'm going to probably request that we have this sewer variance approved so that we can develop this property so I can downsize my property that I've run my business for 50 years and hope to retire before I get out of my 70s. That's my next birthday.
Okay. Any questions from the board? If not, does anyone else here wish to address 4280?
I did bring this. I'm not sure if
it's in our packet.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the TDEC has looked at it and says it's okay.
And I've got my motor vehicle license here with me. And
don't need that.
Okay.
I don't think.
Just for the record, I want to state that the TDEC report is dated March 6, 2025, which is very current.
Yeah. I think this property was under consideration a few months ago for a use and a sewer variance.
The gentleman wanted
granted the use, but we denied the sewer variance at that time because there was a restaurant involved in the, this is my recollection.
Yeah, he had a cafe proposal.
A cafe involved in the proposal, which, would generate.
I don't think he'd be able to support it.
Well, there was the bedroom perk at that point. We didn't think it would support it.
Mm-hmm.
This use is entirely different. You're not planning on running a restaurant, are you?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So if there's no one else here that wishes to speak to this case, I want to close the public hearing and turn to the board. Go ahead, Mr. Crockett.
Question. This sewer system is for 6 employees, or is it 6 or 10, or the max is 6 that you can add employees?
Well, I only need 4 employees, sir.
Okay.
So I'm.
So you're good?
Yes, sir.
Won't be enlarging?
I'm the owner, and I'm not there most of the time because I'm at my other main location that I'm presently running right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and you're going to leave it like it is, or if you change it, you'll comply with the commercial standards.
And I'm going to be right over to see Chris with the plans.
I think he told us last time, if you don't change anything, you don't have to do anything. But
That's
if you
correct.
do, you do.
Yeah, he's intending on putting in a larger parking area and maybe a shop in the future, but he's agreed to all the other commercial standards.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Before I close the public hearing.
Discussion amongst the board, we saw this same property 2 months ago. What happens in 6 months if he decides to sell this building and we've already approved this commercial sewer variance and the next business goes in there has 15 employees? Does this variance goes with this piece of property?
It does. I would think we would want to stipulate that it's based on the approval letter from TDEC, what we have here in the packet, that states that, it'll support 6 employees. And
so we're going to put a cap on the business can only support 6 employees.
Well, they've given us this letter.
Right.
So I think we'd be remiss not to use it. If that's so the motion at the time. Okay. All right. Again, to the board, do I have a motion or any discussion?
I think he wants to
Yes,
speak.
I found in my age and time in life of running businesses, from 3 tornadoes, 3 floods, and 3 eminent domains, and a lot of wartime activity in my piloting, it's better to get permission than forgiveness. So my whole gesture would be humbly, whatever needs to happen. I'm always learning what has to be done, needs to be done, and what will be done. And by you granting this gives us the opportunity to do this. And I fully respect that it needs to stay in the PERC limits of what it can handle and what it can't. And if that time comes that we need to do more, then we need to check with this board and technology and the professional help that can provide the planning and potentiality to be able to handle more in the case of down the road. I pass on because I'm not going to live forever, and whoever gets this property next won't be handcuffed if they can't, if they need to go beyond the 4 to 6 employees. They would not be handcuffed if they can use technology that this board would approve to be able to be in the codes and zoning to operate anything more than that.
What I mentioned to Mr. Manning was an option. That's always the board's option to limit what we approve. On the other hand, it is the owner's responsibility in these situations to make sure that the system's working correctly.
Yes, sir.
And even if you have 2 employees,
yes, sir,
or 6 or 8 or whatever,
yes, sir,
if the system fails, then you've either got to repair it, not under our jurisdiction, that's under TDEC, or in the alternative, you would have to install a standalone type of municipal sewer that's available through the Water and Wastewater Authority.
And I just wanted the board to be aware that I'm aware of that and would push for that, because that's the next step that would need to be implemented, approved, and constructed, where that would enhance the property's ability to be more than what it is now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Turning to 4280. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve the variance request.
I would like to include the TDEC report dated March the 6th of 2025.
And this approval is predicated on the TDEC report dated March 6, 2025. Do I have a second?
Let me put something.
Let me get a second. Then you can ask a question.
Second.
Okay,
Go ahead. I'll second.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you asked if anybody else wanted to speak on that.
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Twice.
All right. All right.
Because I forgot where I was, and I had to back up and do it again.
Did I second or Neil, did you second?
Pick or choose, I don't care.
You can second.
I second.
Okay. We have a motion, properly seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Thank you for coming, sir.
Sir. Mr. Thompson.
Rusty.
Yes.
Can I see you on a different matter just for a few seconds? Because I've been trying to meet you, and it's important that you hear what I have to say. Just step out for a few seconds.
Now?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Can you call me maybe?
I will be available after the meeting. I hope to be in a few minutes.
Yes, sir. Can I leave you my number? How many more people are going to be here? I can maybe.
We have 2 or 3 more cases. 2 more cases.
I'll try to wait. Otherwise, I'll give the phone number directly to you then.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Our next case is case 4281. Gresham and Smith, on behalf of 840 Couchville Pike LLC, is requesting a variance of 25 feet from the front yard setback requirement of 60 feet. If approved, the fuel canopy will be 35 feet from the property line on Couchville Pike. The property is located at 645 Couchville Pike, Lot 1. Couchville Pike Commercial is parcel 39.06 on Wilson County Tax Map 138, consists of 5.3 acres, zoned C4 planned commercial. Get staff recommendations on 4281.
Mr. Chair, the applicant is requesting a variance of 25 feet from the front yard setback requirement of 60 feet for a fuel awning for a proposed gas station. This is not an older tract of record, with the lot being created in October of 2023. From the submitted site plan, it appears the closest gas pump will be 50 feet off the property line, and supporting structures for the canopy would encroach 10 feet over the required front yard setback. So where this variance request is from the canopy overhang is what is being considered. This is being mentioned because typically setbacks and structure separation is measured from the wall. Given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff still cannot recommend approval. Staff will note that this property is on the agenda for the April 25th Planning Commission meeting for a site plan approval. Submitted plan will be contingent on the outcome of some of these requests. It may have to be amended.
Okay, who's here to represent 4281?
Steele McDonald, address 4915 Illinois Avenue in Nashville. I'm a representative of 840 Couchville LLC. And I'm not sure if you all have the latest and greatest site plan, so I did bring some extra copies.
We have a large site plan.
This has the actual canopy and building on it.
Yeah.
A little bit more helpful.
I've got it, I think. Is that it?
Yeah, if we got this, I think it's what it is.
I'll take one of those. Let me look at it. Be easy to
Just a
read.
bigger version.
Yeah, it might just be the same. So yes, as you'll see, the canopy is within that 60-foot setback. We have developed gas stations, C-stores throughout the country, and oftentimes the setbacks are really based on just the building, not always the canopy. So understand that the canopy here is within that, and I believe that's how Wilson County is looking at it. I will say we believe this is a great use for the property and will benefit those that work and live nearby. I'd also like to point out that there is some additional land between Couchville Pike and the canopy. So while it is within the setback of the property line, we're not proposing that it goes right up on this street, and we think it still kind of falls within the idea of what was the vision for this property.
So tell me why you need the variance.
Well, so
other than you want it, tell me why you need it.
We've been told that as the plan sits today, it's the canopy is only 44 feet from the property line, and it's I guess previously been required that it's 60 feet or more. So we're hoping to step that down 25 feet to 35 feet. So this plan, as it sits today, can be approved.
Have you amended something? Because our original proposal is it's 35 feet from the property line.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, stepping it down.
Because here you say 15 foot into the 50-foot fuel canopy setback, and then on your...
Well, we don't have a fuel canopy setback. That's a typo. It's actually a 60-foot setback throughout, but so it'd be 25 feet.
On the application, it says 60 foot, but on the drawing, it says 50.
Is the canopy considered a building in this situation?
We are considering a building because it's a commercial structure. I mean, I did issue to the board where the I guess supporting structures for that canopy are, and they can interpret or consider that, but we're looking at the complete overhang at present.
Yeah, so that's why we need variance. Obviously, the main building is outside of that setback, but the canopy is not, and so we're seeking a variance for that reason, to be able to put the canopy there.
Well, we just I think it'd be interesting or necessary for the board to know what you're basing your request on, other than you want it, or it would be nice.
For their business to operate, this is how the layout of the property needs to be. As the site plan shows here, this is approved by our tenant, 7-Eleven. This is fully approved by them. We have a fully executed lease. They're prepared to move forward with this development as it sits on the plan. So our understanding is for us to get site plan approval here, we would need this variance.
It says it's for a front yard setback. Is the front yard on a road, or is it on another?
It's on Couchville Pike, 265, Highway 265.
Did you say that there was another property that's set between? Maybe I misunderstood that. I don't know.
No, I don't believe so. If you look at the site plan up on the television there, I was just stating how there's a good bit of space between the road and the actual property line. So I was just pointing out that we're not proposing we put the canopy right up on the road line. It is still fairly set back from the road. I know that's not applicable when the setback is from the property line. I was just pointing out as far as how it looks and feels when driving by it once it was developed.
So Neil, I think he's just referring to the extended TDOT right-of-way that they took for the on-ramp. So, I mean, the TDOT right-of-way there is significantly larger than it is elsewhere down the property.
Cleared it up there.
I was just looking in the handbook here. It says a variance of this nature is a special privilege based on exceptional physical features of the land. Should be granted in case of narrowness, shallowness, shape, topographical condition, or other extraordinary situation or condition not caused by the applicant.
I would say we have a narrow site here.
But it was that way when you bought it, wasn't it? When you acquired it, it wasn't something, or has it just been?
When we acquired this site, it was 14 total acres. And it's since been, portion of it's been developed by us. There would be another parcel remaining as well.
The narrowness is of your own doing.
In a sense, yes. The way the parcel sits today is in our own doing. But we also.
If you move the lot line back a few feet, then you wouldn't need the variance.
The site to the south has been constructed on, that's not.
Pardon?
The site to the south has been constructed and.
But it was recently subdivided.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
It's been developed, recently subdivided, and since sold. So we're no longer the property owners of the property to the south. So moving the property line is not an option for us.
But it has recently been done. It's not something that was done 50 years ago or something of that nature.
When this development, this option came to be, the southern portion had already been developed. So yes, we weren't planning this exact layout looking forward. This is sort of, as we've marketed the property and figured out a plan, this is what's come up since that development. So had we known this would be the use here, we certainly would have buffered some more space, but that's just not the order of events for us, unfortunately.
Other questions from the board?
I would also like to add that with the remaining parcel in the corner, this use makes that parcel much more attractive for other national restaurant users that we're in discussions with.
You're talking about this out parcel here?
Yes, sir, that out parcel. We've heard from Wilson County in the past that having restaurant users is something they'd really like to see here. We think getting an approval here and being able to move forward here will allow us to then bring an additional restaurant user to the area, which for those that work and live there would be a benefit.
What restaurant?
We are in discussions with a few national tenants, but with nothing signed. I'm not sure I can disclose them. But they're household names.
Well, okay. Any other questions from the board for the applicant? Anyone else here wish to address 4281, Gresham Smith? If not, I'll close public comment on this particular case and turn to the board. Looking forward, it's further discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chair, I go back to a case that we had a few months ago that was a commercial structure on Trice Road, which is not a heavy traffic road, and we voted that down due to safety concerns. I believe it was an addition by Friendship wanting a wrestling room with just a 10-foot variance to Trice Road. I think that the site plan could be revised and there would not be a variance needed.
Possible. Okay. Any further discussion?
I would just like to add that this is a very high, popular road. It is, gosh, it's so well, traveled, tractor trailers. There's, right behind on Aldi is the warehouse. That's where all the warehouses are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, the traffic is just unbelievable. That's all I can say, is the traffic is just unbelievable on that road right there.
Any other comments? If not, do I hear a motion in regard to 4281, Gresham Smith?
I'm going to ask that we deny this upon staff recommendation.
Have a motion to deny based on staff recommendations. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to deny based on staff recommendations. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, vote aye. Aye. Opposition, vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank you, sir. Okay, our next case is 4282 Bond Construction on behalf of Ben Spurlock, requesting a variance of 1,030 square feet from the accessory size requirement. Is this correct, 170 square feet?
That is, yes, sir.
Okay. A variance of 27 feet from the rear yard setback requirement of 40 feet, and a variance of 7 feet from both side yard setback requirements of 20 feet. The property also needs a variance from the lot width requirement of 125 feet, and a variance from the lot size requirement of 80,000 square feet. If approved, the proposed structure will be 1,200 square feet, 13 feet from the rear property line, and 13 feet from both side property lines. The property is located at 889 Misty Lake Drive, Lot 23. Lakeside is Group C, Parcel 40 on Wilson County Tax Map 16E, consisting of 5,600 square feet, zoned A1 agricultural. We'll get staff recommendations now on 4282.
All right, to not reiterate everything, the 170 square feet comes from the 4% or the 3% maximum size requirement on A1 for an accessory structure without a residence. The variance of 60 feet from the lot width requirement of 125 feet, the lot is only 65 feet wide, and there would also need to be a variance of 74,300 square feet from the lot size requirement of 80,000 square feet for a agriculturally zoned lot. There is currently a structure on the property that is to be torn down. Staff's best estimation, that is roughly 470 square feet that is existing. This is an older tract of record, with the lot being created in March of 1954. Given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff can recommend approval of the setback variance as requested. However, staff cannot recommend approval of the size variance on the accessory structure due to the language in the zoning ordinance.
Okay, who's here to represent 4282 Spurlock?
Name's Lee Bond, 8858 Sparta Pike.
Yes, sir. What can you tell the board?
Well, his house is across the street from what is that old shop that's there, that's been there for quite a while. The neighbor next door, his house, the house is set on a very sloped lot to the lake, so the people that own the house across the street, those lots on the other side is where their shops or garages were, if that makes any sense.
I believe I remember a few of those in years past we've approved over on the other side of the street.
Yeah, so that is kind of where Ben's at. He wants to be able to keep his boats and his skis in there. There is a thing there already. It's just, it's really can't get.
So this is not a house or replacing a house. You're taking a structure down and putting up a storage shed.
It's the same, yes, sir.
Is this what you're tearing down here? That shed?
Yes.
So, okay.
Not reading my notes.
That's going to be torn down?
Yeah, that is there now.
Hold on just a minute. Y'all know, y'all caught up over there?
maybe not.
That is what would be toward.
Okay.
Is that,
Yeah.
now, Perry, would you ask?
I don't know, I'm not following.
I'm on 4282. I'm out on Misty Cove
Look at this,
Drive.
look at the picture
I
up.
read like the whole thing, and I don't even see anything till the last sentence. It says something about an accessory structure.
Are you on the recommendations or the agenda?
Yeah, both of them.
You picked up your agenda and I had to,
Huh?
you picked up your packet early.
Right, mine doesn't even say anything about an accessory.
And,
I'm not following somewhere.
hold on,
Hold on a minute, we got to get our homework right.
update on
Oh,
the
okay.
agenda. So you were the one that picked it up
Yes, that would have been me.
prior to the update.
All right, I didn't think I was losing my
This is what
mind
he's going to
there.
tear down.
Okay.
He says he submitted that,
All
he's
right.
going to tear it down. Let Sonia see that.
Ours will look better.
Ought to.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
of
sir.
the picture?
Uh-huh.
That shows actually two structures in that picture, I believe.
Well, I mean,
Like two storage sheds.
That's on another piece of property.
the property's so small, I don't,
You don't, that's not on
it's
it?
on the neighboring
Just the
property.
one?
You can see
Okay.
the survey stake
Next door
in the
has a
picture.
Garage shop.
Okay.
Next door.
There's a survey stake in the picture. You can see in between
In between?
the different, yeah.
All right.
And this 170 square feet comes from the formula that's in the ordinance.
3% of your allowable lot size, or 2,000 square feet, whichever is smaller.
Yeah. So really, this shed is, if we approve this, he'll have a shed there, he's just going to have 12 or 15 feet all the way around it to the property line. Is that,
If you approve what he's got proposed, yes, sir. Yep.
and this would be for storage, interior storage only. Okay, all right. Any other questions for the board? Perry, did you get square?
Well, I'm getting there. I'm getting caught up. I was way behind on that one. So what is the actual size of the accessory building that's going to be built?
1,200 feet.
Okay, all right.
The lot's pretty small. It's
I understood all
5,600
that.
feet.
My variance didn't ever say anything about an accessory building. I'm with you now.
Okay, 1,200 feet is what he's asking for, which is this,
I understand.
is this
I'm with
right
you.
here.
I understand.
All right, if no one has any other questions for the applicant, anyone else here wish to speak to this? Probably not. Okay. I'll close the public hearing and turn to the board for discussion if we need it, or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve 4282. Do I have a second? And I'll second. Oh, Mr. Robinson second.
Robinson second.
Robinson second. Okay, any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Thank y'all. Our next case is case 4283, Roland Digital Media, on behalf of Jimmy Comer, requesting to replace an existing billboard. Applicant is also requesting a variance of 20 feet from the north yard setback requirement of 30 feet and a variance of 13 feet from the front yard setback requirement of 60 feet. If approved, the new billboard will be 10 feet from the north side yard property line and 47 feet from the front property line. The property is located at 1510 Murfreesboro Road, parcel 53.01 on Wilson County Tax Map 92, consisting of 14 acres and is zoned A1 agricultural. We get staff recommendations now on 4283.
Mr. Chair, the applicant is requesting a variance of 20 feet from the north side yard setback requirement of 30 feet and a variance of 13 feet from the front yard setback requirement of 60 feet. The variances allow the applicant to replace and relocate a billboard on the property. The existing billboard is grandfathered in, but the relocation of the billboard on the side is the reason for the variance request before you today. The only reason I mentioned that, if he wanted to replace the existing billboard in the same location, that would fall under general upkeep and maintenance of that billboard, so the variances would not be before you today as that's been there previously. Given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval of the request. However, the board can consider that the proposed billboard will be replacing the existing sign, which the existing grandfather sign would currently need more variance than what he is proposing. So, I mean, you can interpret it either way you like.
All right. Who's here to represent 4283, Roland Digital, Jimmy Comer? Yes, sir.
Jimmy Comer, 418 Stumpy Lane, and I also have Roland Digital reps here with me on the sign people on it. A little explanation, a quick history on this thing. Rusty, you and I have passed Sea Rock City sign on this thing all our lives right there on it. The soccer fields, the sportsplex that's been built across the road is part of our family farm on it. I had the vision of taking that Rock City sign and reworking it and having it be an entrance type thing for the city and for the sportsplex on it. Under no terms and conditions would Rock City work with me on it. So they have been, and it's their billboard, and so they have been terminated. That sign went down Tuesday and is no longer there on it. Been a lifelong fixture there. But anyway, and the sign of progress on it. I've met with Roland on it, and we are envisioning putting a sign right here on it, and I relocated it for 2 or 3 different reasons, and he may better explain it on it. But the visibility, this is just swap size of the property from where it was. There's a pumping station in that bottom right corner where this billboard was. If you go past that bottom down there about 200 or 300 feet, there's a 300 or 400 or 500 feet on it. There's an 18,000 square foot house that's just been built.
Yes, sir.
That I don't think I really would be aesthetically pleasing to what I'm going to do here on it. Whereas if I swap corners of the property that's on it, it's more in a commercial type area right there on it. Goes up toward the REI building that come off of us. If the visibility is better, it just to me it makes better sense to put it there on it. I'd have liked to work with the old sign where it was, but they wasn't going to let that happen. And so that's why I'm proposing that on it. The additional sign will have the visibility here is better for both sides of it. And it gives us the ability to do flashing on it where we can advertise things such as events going on at the Sportplex. We're talking about soccer here, not shooting rifles. I didn't say that. Be glad to answer any questions, as will Rollins.
Any questions?
And on one clarification on it, the setback a little bit on it, I've actually put it exactly the same distance off of 231 as the other sign was. We distanced the same mile of the road, just moved it up to the other corner. Sorry.
You're planning on not going back to the old site? It'll just...
No.
We'll abandon the old sign.
Right. Abandon the old site, as long as y'all work with me.
Anyone else in the audience wish to address 4283?
Quick for me, I'm the sign guy.
Okay, no one else who wants to address 4283 will close public comment, turn to the board for further discussion or a motion. I'll move we approve 4283. Have a second? Have a second from Mr. Robinson. Any discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. All right, thank you all for coming. Thought you had to wait so long. All right, Christopher, do you have anything else for the board this morning?
No, I mean, I guess the only point of information I have is the zoning resolution to clean up the C3 uses on appeal will be presented to planning and zoning May 6th, I think. So that'll be to start the process for that.
All right, good deal. Anything, board have anything else? And if not, we're adjourned.